All right, I think we will get started. So welcome everybody to beautiful City Hall in downtown Summerside. It is May 6, 2025. It is a beautiful day, 17 degrees and sunny, or it was when we came in. So hopefully it will be when we come out. So we will call our Committee of the Whole meeting to order here at 5:01 p.m. on May 6, 2025. First, I'll look for a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented. Move Councillor Adams, second Councillor Snow. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, then we'll move forward with the agenda as presented. We begin each one of our meetings here at the City of Summerside by acknowledging the land upon which we gather as unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Our Mi'kmaq is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this island for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. At this point, I'll ask for any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item on the agenda this evening. Councillor Morrison?
Yeah, I'll declare a conflict of interest in the special council meeting for number 4, A and B. I'll sit that one out.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. At this point, we have a special item on our agenda. We're going to do it at the beginning so folks can get on with the rest of their evening. It has been, someone was saying it has been a long retirement the last week here. Former Chief Walker is here with us tonight again. And we have had lots of great evenings with you, Chief, and others before us over the years. We had an informal, formal retirement ceremony last week, and this place was filled with people with lovely remarks off the cuff from members of the community, former colleagues, councillors, and I think Stephen Hurst really had an incredibly touching story that exemplified not just who you are as a when you have your badge on, but just your humanity as I think you call yourself now a civilian. As an individual. And what we wanted to do as well this evening is just to take a few moments to open the floor for members of council. I'll first start with Councillor Adams to say a couple of words, and then we have a presentation for you, Sinclair, that we'd like to do. So I will pass it along to Councillor Adams.
Thank you. I won't keep you here any longer since we've been hauling you back consistently. But welcome back this evening. I get, and you're saying it's the longest retirement, but it's funny because it's over the past few weeks, people have been telling different stories about, oh, I remember this, or oh, I remember that. A couple instances in my own house that were pretty funny, but I'm sure you didn't think they were funny at the time, but not my children, maybe my husband. So just policing, it just shows from stories you hear how different it was back then, and the challenges that you thought were challenges back then, and compared to what you all have to deal with now. You've seen a lot in 45 years, and I can't imagine the stress. I know there must be sometimes whenever you go home and it's been a good day, but those are definitely the ones you want to remember, because I'm sure there's a lot of days when, and it's hard on your family as it is on you. And so, Jean, thank you for letting us have him for so many years. So there's really, I know different times I've probably emailed. I tried not to call a lot. I'd send an email or a text, and you'd get back to me, I'm sure, begrudgingly at times, but you're always very good to get back to me and try and work through a situation or talk to residents and talk them through what might have been happening in a situation and why things were going the way they were, and possible solutions and resolutions for everybody. So it was, I know in my ward there's been a few issues with some things that have come up, and the people that families that have went in and have talked to you about things, they've always felt very listened to and appreciated being able to go in and sit with you and talk to you about things that were happening in the neighborhood. So from all of us, I just want to You know, Jason, although I found out it's not his line, it's, you know, if you don't feel safe, then you're not, but that's what Jason always says, but you make people feel safe, so we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And I don't know if anyone else has, I know people have probably all spoke to Sinclair, but Councillor Doiron?
I didn't yet. I just do, and I had written you an email yesterday. I didn't know if you got it. I didn't know if they shut your account down right at 4 p.m. or what, but, and I didn't expect a response or anything like that. I just wanted to make sure, just because I felt so bad having to miss a couple of the official events that were held for you, and I really wanted to make sure that I spoke to you in person, and I'm so glad that this is happening tonight, because it's just so much more personal than writing an email, and so I just wanted to just sort of, I guess, reiterate what I had already sent you, but using my face instead of my fingers, if that makes any sense, on the keyboard. Good line, remember that one. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know, as I said, just how much respect that I have for you as a officer of the law, or former officer of the law, and as a person. Just, I've only known you really since I started here in 2018. So just want you to know that how much respect that I have, and everyone in the city has for you as well. You should be very proud, and I know you are, of the legacy that I think you left on the city. And I think the last thing that I would have said was, I don't know what your plans are in retirement. You don't have to tell anyone, but just want you to know that you've earned it, and you deserve it so much. And I just hope that you are able to, whatever it is, enjoy it. I really hope so. And Chief Black here, I over the short time that I've known you as well, just since coming on council, I see a lot of the same professional qualities. So I think we're in good hands, and from good hands to good hands. So I don't know if can I still call you Chief? They still do that too. Okay. Mr. Walker, Ally's daddy. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sinclair, former chief. Sorry I missed your big retirement party. I guess I missed a pretty good gig, but I had a previous commitment, and I had contacted you to tell you that I couldn't be here. But I just want to thank you for the excellent service. I've been on the council a lot of your years there, and I know as an officer right through to you were in the #1 detective there for a while, and then you moved on to deputy, and finally to chief. You've done an excellent job. You've always provided an excellent service. And the thing that I appreciate, just like any councillor, is when contacted you, you always get back to us. And that's a quality that we appreciate. So I really want to thank you for your service, and wish you nothing but happiness and good health in your retirement. And Chief Jason over there, you congratulations, and it's great to see our service provide our police services providing the experience so that our deputy chiefs can move into positions. I know Sinclair moved in from deputy to police chief, and Jason, and I think that speaks highly of the organization that we have here. So congratulations, both of you. Thank you.
We'll have to write a song. There's so many things being said. I'm still going to refer to you as chief unofficially, but I know that I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much for the 45 years, the great respect that the community has given you, as well as internally from the staff and various councils that you have served with. I think as I was reflecting on different things, one of the things that always stayed with me was working in my role with family violence prevention and having the privilege of doing safety circles and justice circles with you and the Crown Attorney that was on our board to help us through some situations where somebody might be getting out of jail and it was going to be an impact on a victim or whatever. I always found that you were so helpful. And I think on that side of the law, it was really helpful for us, and it was able to give some of the victims that would come to that meeting individually a chance to really be able to ask questions and not be intimidated. And I always found that you were just so helpful to them, and I always appreciated that about you. Another thing that I wanted to just point out is that just to be so well respected in the community. And I know that as a city, we've come through a lot of things where people have maybe said things or didn't agree or whatever. But I think sometimes when you get something right, the people in the community are very, very quick to tell you. And I could not believe the positive comments, the positive turnouts at the reception for your retirement, as well as new incoming Chief Blackier, same thing. People really think that, you know, the city has done it right in the incoming chief, as well as it being a national competition. And so I think that you have brought and instilled a lot of those things with the members of the police services, as well as the role modeling that you have given. And I just want to thank you for that. And you've always been a very positive family man with your daughters, with Jean. You're so supportive, and I just see you as kind of as a really strong couple. And I really, really want to just say thank you for being that role model. Thank you for being that kind of a person that led a team of people at the police services. And to incoming Chief Blackier, I think we are very, very happy that you are going to be the new chief, and I think you should hold your head very high, because it was a nationwide or a national-wide competition, and that really shows that you've got the muster to really be that leader in that role. So we're very proud of that fact for you. So congratulations on your retirement. You and Jean have a wonderful time, and all the best. And to you, Chief Blackier, thank you, and we're very proud of you.
I too just want to thank Chief Walker for his 45 years of service. I believe it was 45. I know I personally and many people in the community really appreciate the effort that you made, and it's in the commitment that it would take to both to being an officer and protecting your city and your community. It's greatly appreciated. And so enjoy your retirement, enjoy your family, and hope everything just gets better from here on in. And I should mention this too, it's one thing to work anywhere for a long period of time, but 45 years is phenomenal. And to do it in the area in which you worked is really unbelievable, because, you know, I know personally I couldn't do the job, nor would I want to do the job with the way it's changed over the years. And so thank you very much.
I wasn't going to say anything till I just heard Rick say the 45 years, 45 years again. So to start, congratulations on your retirement. But to put it in perspective, I'm not the youngest person here on council, but I'm only turning 45 years old in October. So just to put that in perspective, what a great career that is, because I think I've lived a pretty good life so far. Quite feels like it's been a lot longer than 45 years, so I can't even imagine, to Rick's point, doing the same thing for 45 years and doing it well. So thank you for your service to our city.
Councillor Gammon?
Thank you. I maybe shouldn't have waited so long to put my mic on. I literally wrote down 45 years at any job is an accomplishment. 45 years devoting your life to keeping other people safe is astonishing. So thanks for taking that from me, Rick, before I could say it. But I just want to say thank you so much for your service. I hope you very much enjoy your retirement. And just FYI, I'm 37 years old, and but if I can stay in one job long enough for 45 years, I think that is a huge accomplishment, and you should be very proud of that, especially with what you have devoted your life to, which is keeping others safe. And it's not always the safest job, but like everyone else here said, you have made a workplace that people feel comfortable approaching you, whether that is your colleagues or people in the city. And I think that is a truly amazing accomplishment. And I hope that you very much enjoy your retirement.
Thank you, councillors. We have Councillor Ken Trenholm who's joining us electronically. Is Ken there? Does he want to say anything there?
Sure, thank you. Thank you. I just had to unmute myself, so my coughs were caught into it. Yeah, I just wanna, I guess, summarize and say, yeah, I certainly appreciate all the effort. I know, yeah, there's been lots of times I know in the community that you've helped, and I've heard people talk about what a wonderful asset you've been and helped them. So I just want to say thank you and enjoy your retirement.
Great. Thank you, Council, and as well, obviously, thank you to incoming Chief Black here. Great to have you here. We know you're going to do great things. And also, we have Chief Henman from our fire department here as well, and we have Minister Barb Ramsey, who was a former representative for police services as well, so would have worked with Sinclair. And then, of course, last but not least, the most important person in the room, Jean. Sorry, Sinclair, I think you were going to say, I was going to say you, but... We thank you for sharing Sinclair with us, and we're really thankful for that. So with this, we have a presentation for you, former chief. And so maybe if you wanted to come up, we would hand that to you, and we'll do a presentation, and then maybe we'll do sort of a quick couple of photos. If council wants to do a photo with Sinclair, and then we could invite up Jean and Jason and Ron and Minister Ramsey, and we can do a group photo as well, if that's okay with everybody. Okay, great, yeah, let's go up and we'll...
There's actually quite a history to this, right? Is there? And it goes back to Christians. I think this started actually at a third-year ring, maybe, and it was a 40. I said, no, really, we should be giving Chief Boy and I, a 40-year ring. Like, but anyway, she didn't see it in the budget. So she said, when I told her, well, we got 45, Dave, and I got 45, and she said, well, I guess it's time to get to that. So thank you very much, Kristen. Very much appreciated.
Thank you very much. So come on up, we'll do a photo with everyone up.
Yeah, sure, right there.
Sinclair, then we'll get everyone up for the... All right, squeeze in just a little bit more.
Mr. Ramsey, perhaps you want to...
Yeah, whenever. Come on up. Jean and Jean. Come on, Jean. That's it.
She waves this.
Yeah, I bet. Right in the middle. Oh, Jean, you got it over here. This is the last time we'll do this. We're good over here. Great, thank you, everyone. Yeah, absolutely.
I like too much of your time.
You want to speak out the microphone? Right here. See the grease?
Well. Okay, good, thank you. Back at the microphone, doing something I love so much, public speaking. Not at all. Anyway, your worship, members of council, Chief Ron, Chief Jason, Minister Barb Ramsey, and of course, Jean. Okay. Thanks for allowing me to say a few words on my retirement. I would first like to thank the city for the retirement reception on Friday and those who helped prepare for this event. That was oh my God, just lost my thought. Anyway, I'll think of her in a second here. Sandra, of course, Sandra. Sandra and Ashley. Oh, there she is. I bet you didn't forget me, though. Thanks, Mayor Kuchar, for your kind words and believing it to be an important event by wearing the mayor's chain of office. That meant a lot to me. Thanks very much. I was totally overwhelmed and humbled by the number of citizens from our community that came out for my reception. I would like to thank all those that were in attendance and who spoke their kind words. It showed me the respect this community has for this police service. Okay. Yesterday, on May 5th, I completed 45 years with the Summerside Police Service. It has been a tremendous honor and a privilege to serve the great community of Summerside. Through my tenure, I've had the opportunity to create fond memories and build meaningful relationships with many in this community that I will treasure for years to come. I've had the privilege of working with an incredible service and incredible men and women who serve this community with the utmost integrity and professionalism. I am forever grateful for their selflessness and their commitment to public safety. Over the past number of years, we have seen a tremendous growth in the city of Summerside. While priorities will change, one thing that will not change is our police service's ongoing vision to build better, stronger, and safer communities. And under the continued leadership of Police Chief Jason Black here, I would like to thank Jason and congratulate him on his appointment. Jason has demonstrated strong ethical leadership, effective communication, and a commitment to building trust in both the community and the police service. This community and police service will certainly benefit with his future leadership. I would like to thank all our staff, including support staff, police officers, dispatchers, that play a huge role in keeping this city safe. I couldn't have asked for a better group of people, and I thank them for all their support during my time with police service. I would like to thank all the other city staff for their support, the communication department, human resources, financial services, our computer support, who we call on daily. I would be remiss if I did not thank our cleaning staff, Dave and Joy. They have worked hard to keep our building clean. I would like to thank all the mayors and councillors I served under, all our past and present CAOs for rebuilding our police service and providing critical resources to make this city safe. Our city has been facing challenges with the increase in illicit drugs, homelessness, mental health, and addiction issues like we have not seen in the past. With everyone working together, we have seen the building of a homeless shelter in Summerside, the mobile mental health program, and lately with the province stepping up to support a joint enforcement team to combat mid-level drug activity in this city. Our police service has faced other challenges with recruitment and retention, with our officers leaving to join other forces. Unfortunately, this is a scenario that's happening not just in policing but other vocations as well. To help with this situation, our police service started our own recruitment program with a return for service agreement. We have 3 members working with us through this program and others presently training in the Atlantic Police Academy. The cost of this program was initially funded by the city, but the province has stepped up to the plate and covered the cost of this program. I would like to thank the province of Prince Edward Island and those in the Department of Justice that have supported our police service and this community in providing funding for a number of crime fighting initiatives. I would like to thank our policing partners, the RCMP, Charlottetown Police Service, Kensington Police Service, the Atlantic Police Academy, for their support. We have developed great partnerships over the years and made great progress by working together. I would also like to thank our fire service for our great relationship with Chief Ron and his team. I would like to say a few words about being a police officer. While it is a noble profession, it comes with several disadvantages. This includes potential health and wellness problems like PTSD, long hours that can strain family life, mental distress, and on both officers and families, and exposure to human misery and conflict that can lead to cynicism and paranoia.
can be emotionally demanding, leading to chronic stress, mental issues. For me, one of my toughest tasks in policing was notifying a family that their loved one had passed away. You know, we were about to change their lives forever and cause them tremendous grief. I spoke with a lady that I notified years ago that her young son had passed away. She said every time she sees me, it brings back the memory of that day. It also brings back the memory of her pain and grief on that day for me as well. I have attended many sudden deaths and autopsies during my career, and there are some I will never get out of my thoughts. I would like to thank Gordon McFarlane, who we worked with to create a mental health program for our members that is being accessed on a regular basis. As chief, I always encouraged everyone to look after his or her mental health. For years, there was little help for officers dealing with difficult situations that sometimes led to self-medication. This program not only made our staff more healthy, but allowed members to stay at work and not be off on extended sick leave. There are also many advantages to being a police officer, including job security, the ability to serve the community. We can make differences in people's we can make a difference in the lives of individuals whom we serve and protect. We can show empathy and compassion while remaining authoritative. We can also comfort people who are experiencing difficult situations or circumstances. Our police service has made every effort to ensure our ratio of sworn women to men is above the national average. I am proud to say that our 4-member major crime section is made up of 1 male and 3 females, sometimes referred to as Charlie's Angels. Our police agency has also worked on diversity within our service, encompassing representation from different ethnic backgrounds and cultures. This fosters trust that is crucial for effective policing and community relations. A police service must look like their community. I've had such a wonderful career, but everything has to come to an end. Sergeant Corish, of course, with his, he believes I've reached my expiry date. Anyway, there's a saying in our building, if they don't tease you, they may not like you. Nevertheless, I leave saying, the city of Summerside has given me so much during my career. They have been an excellent employer and provided so much for my family and me. When I came to Summerside 45 years ago, I wasn't planning on staying. However, I met my wife Jean, and here I am 45 years later. What a wonderful gift I received in Jean and her great Acadian family. They even introduced me to Chicken Frico and Rod Purr. Jean and my 2 girls are the most important people in my life. Jean has always been by my side through thick and thin. I will be forever grateful in her debt for her boundless love, kindness, and devotion. I will end with a bit of a funny story. Recently, I was getting ready for work, and I was looking in the mirror as Jean was looking on. And I mentioned how my hair is turning gray, and the wrinkles have formed on my face. I said, Jean, you will have to give me an odd compliment to make me feel better in my later years. She thought for a minute, and she said, dear, at least your eyes are still good. Thanks so much for everything. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you again, Sinclair. In the words of Winston Churchill, it is not the end, it is the end of the beginning, and we wish you well. So with that, we'll take a 5-minute recess because there's no way we're going to be talking about Finance Committee while Sinclair heads out to his next adventure. Great, thank you, and welcome back, everyone. We'll continue with our meeting. We'll move on to item 6, committee reports and recommendations. This is the opportunity to sort of quick oral update from committee chairs, and we start here with Finance Committee, Councillor MacDougall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a short report here on the vulnerable populations grant applications. Council approved $22,500 in the 25-26 budget for grants to nonprofit organizations that service our vulnerable populations. The grant aims to empower registered not-for-profit organizations and prospective applicants to address the needs of vulnerable populations, including seniors, youth, and those impacted by a high cost of living. The Finance Committee, at their latest meeting on April 23rd, reviewed applications and received and passed a motion to recommend that Council award 6 nonprofit organizations $2,500 each. This will leave the budget remaining of $7,500 for the 25-26 budget year. I'd just like to mention the 6 that were successful. Hope House Incorporated for their meal prep courses for the purchase of ingredients and supplies for a day program. Loaves, Fishes Nourishment and Community Outreach, Inc., purchase and food ingredients for meals for delivery. Meals on Wheels Summerside, purchase and delivery of meals to seniors. St. Mary's Anglican Church, water bottle filling station located outside the church hall for people in need of water. Summerside Y Service Club for their weekly food boxes to feed the unhoused community. And Trinity United Church to provide food boxes, hot meals to shut-ins, and breakfast on Saturdays. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Councillor MacDougall. Questions, comments, Council? Seeing none, we'll move on. Councillor McColeman, quick update from Bylaw Governance Committee.
My update will be very quick. I'm just getting on to the monday.com, thanks to Mr. Tanner for your help and tutorial. But I think there's still work ongoing. I noticed that there's comments and messages, and Director Kendra Gunn is still working on some of those aspects for our next meeting. But the home-based business and vacant premises bylaw, there's still work being done there. And as I mentioned at the last meeting, some of those things take quite a while to work on, so it's not like we can really deck the agenda. So she's doing a lot of work on that, and we should have more at the next meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councillor Doiron, Chair of our Planning Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. We don't have really anything new to report since our last Committee of the Whole, but for the June Committee of the Whole, we should have a complete streets draft policy ready to present to Council. That's just taking a bit of extra time on the staff end to get everything detailed, and so we should have something for Council this time next month.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What are we next? Action Plan Safer Communities, Councillor Adams.
Thank you. I don't have much to report at this time. Due to some work commitments, we weren't able to meet this month, but we're still, work is ongoing. We just didn't get together as a group. There is a post out, it was shared on the city socials about looking for individuals to sit on the committee. So if there's anybody that would like to take a look at that or is wondering where it is, just reach out and we can send that along to you. And same, there'll probably be more this time next month after we get to meet again in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Parks and Greenspace, Councillor Trenholm. Is Councillor Trenholm there in the sky?
That he is. Yeah, not a whole lot to update, but we are, just as a reminder, we're looking to put an RFP on the table in the near future anyway, to update and create a new Parks and Greenspace plan. And that will include some consultation with the community. So I guess in the future, community members, if you have any interest in parks and green spaces in your city, which I hope everybody does, there'll be an online survey. And we're also looking at maybe going to a park or two and have some on-site surveys as well. So that's it.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Trenholm. Councillor Cameron, Chair, Youth Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. Last month, we were getting ready to go into Three Oaks to have some meeting with some students. We've had that meeting. We had a half decent turnout, actually, more than I expected. We had about 15 to 20 students show up. Lots of interested minds. So as we go forward, we're going to hopefully start this committee in September when school is back in. Since it's so late in the year, it doesn't really make much sense to start it now, only to stop for the summer. And that's all we have right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair Cameron. We'll move to the downtown, but I will just take a quick note. I think electric governance review, we couldn't meet, so it's, there's nothing to report there, I'm assuming, and the AI one is just still coming together. So maybe we'll do I'll hand it over to Deputy Snow, Chair of our Downtown Transformation, and then after that, we'll move on to the next section.
Thank you, Your Worship. At this point, I'm going to ask Kaylee to join us, who is going to do a quick presentation recap on the work that has been done by the Downtown Transformation Committee to this point. And then following, just to let everybody know, following her report, this is not really the time for back and forth between council, so this is sort of, she's bringing the information forward to council, and then from there, there is an implementation committee made up of council that will be taking that report, breaking it down into what is doable in the near future, what is longer term recommendations coming from the committee to proceed with, and that will be brought back to council for debate and further information. Kaylee, over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Corey. Let me just see if I can make this full screen. Well, I think everybody can see it there. Can you see it on your screens? Yeah. Okay. So, hi everyone. I think I know everybody here, but my name is Kaylee O'Brien. I am a proud Summerside. I haven't figured this out yet, how you say like Torontonian, but for Summerside. So I live here in Summerside. I'm Norma's neighbor, and I got to sit on the Special Projects Committee. So in front of you, you should have this document. I printed it out. I have a slideshow just to summarize, because this is a big document. You will need some take-home reading, but I'll do a quick summary here. So a little bit of background about this project. So this community-based engagement project started in late 2024, well, maybe around August. There was an open public call presentation at Evermore about 3 project groups that were going to be formed based from the community as well as city representation. So there was a call to action. Who wants to be part of transforming the downtown? So the downtown was on a few different things, one small business, one on the environment, and the other on special projects. And we wanted local leaders, community members, subject matter experts to come together to pave a pathway forward. So just a little on the collective impact here. So there was about 20 volunteers, around 8 hours a month, and there's about 600 hours that went into facilitating this documentation. So this wasn't just a meeting and, hey, here's an idea. These individuals met roughly between 3 to 6 times on each committee, brought their information forward. Everyone had homework to put together what we can, as a community, present as downtown Summerside recommendations. And I also want to note that there was about 80 plus businesses and community members engaged, so a wide audience here. So just an overview on the 3 projects. 1, transforming our built environment team. This is what we're seeing downtown. What is our physical spaces looking like? What is the beautification looking like? And what improvements can be made there to attract people to live and work and play? Small business activation team. Why does someone want to open a small business downtown? Or for the small businesses we have, why do they want to be here? And how can we help make a vibrant downtown? Then we have the special projects team. So this is focused on more long-term development projects, repurposing space, and growth incentives. So we're going to start with the built environment team. So I think that's where your documentation will start in front of you. So just an overview, Corey and Rose, so Rose Dennis and Corey Snow sat on every committee just to make sure that there was an understanding between all 3, that there wasn't isolated silos throughout this work. So the project team lead here was Rose and co-chaired by Corey. You had representation from the Summerside Port Corp. We had 2 city representation based from Robbie Rankin and Lori Ellis. And then we had 4 public appointments. So we had Stacy, Hannah, Katrina, and Loki. So the built environment team, just to recenter again, is on what is our history doing downtown? What does it look like when you're walking around downtown? What's the diversity? Is it meeting the needs and the direction that we want to go in? And we want to respect our people and our past and those that live in it. So the recommendations that came from this group, and this is the longest one, they had a lot of recommendations, and there's a lot of thought put in. So there was short-term and long-term goals. I'm just gonna high level it. The more documentation is in your folders, as well as at the end of the booklet, there's a roadmap with all 3 projects. So just touching on some of the public space enhancements, creative rest. So these are benches or areas that people can stop and enjoy. When they're eating food from Samuel's, where are they sitting outside and enjoying that? So creative rest, urban improvements at Water Street and Cedar Street, so behind PEI Bag Co. They want murals and to beautify the area, make it more enjoyable. Connector pathways, so the boardwalk to the Confederation Trail. So is there enhancements for artistic crosswalks that could be implemented? And not all of these ideas are bank breakers. They are things that can be just creatively thought. A crosswalk gets painted, every few years anyways. Why not be creative about it? Cycling and wayfinding. Wayfinding is a very popular item that's in a lot of different cities. So guides, how do we guide people to connect them to what's in our city? Lighting enhancements. I'll probably notice downtown Summerside came to put string lights up and the Christmas lights this year. That made a big difference in a vibrancy to our downtown. So what lighting enhancements can we continue upgrading? Living walls, so that's picture a garden but going upwards, up a building. You have a building, let's put a living wall on it. So investments in trees, perennial plants, other gardens. Rain art, metal-based art that can be put out and you're hearing the rain. Port beautification enhancements, what can we do down at the port to make that an area that people stop and want to go to and say, hey, I want to bring my family here. And then continued beautification in general. We know that there's been a lot of changes, even since the short time that I've lived here, just on what's going on downtown. How can we continue growing and maintaining that? Public art projects. So this is, what can we do on large scale? Public art is a big piece of when you go to downtown, you recognize right away. A lot of it has to do with the art, and that's there, and the vibe that's given. So how can we showcase that through local artists in our downtown? The brand identity on lampposts, you see the Summerside branding already. How can we elevate that even more? How can we tell people they're downtown, or not need to tell people that they're downtown just based on what we're doing? Educational engagement elements on the Baywalk Boardwalk. So we have a vast Acadian history. How can we integrate that into our boardwalk when people are walking anyways? How can we make it more interesting and more exciting? Green Shores enhancements. We have a beautiful beach. We're one of the only areas that has a beach in our city. So Green Shores is an area that was identified in this group as an area that we can attract people to go and spend the day. Then we have the long-term improvements. So these are more get on the radar now as something that we want to, or the direction that this team is wanting to see. So enhanced play structures at Green Shores Park. So trying to encourage families to go and spend the day. Turn Spring Street into a pedestrian-only street. So this was one of the ideas that came from the group, is how can we collectively create a really neat environment for people to enjoy. Greenspace expansion, which I know I just heard an update from a Greenspace expansion project, but the Greenspace expansion project specifically they identified behind Holman Building. New parking garages, so how places for people to park when businesses are opening and the business is booming. and expanding the facade improvement program. There's current facade improvement program, but as we all know, the cost of everything is going up. So the facade program, currently, if someone wants to put new signage and they don't have that investment to make the place look a little bit better, the facade program, it doesn't give enough money for some of those bigger investments that the businesses were looking for. So that was a lot. There's a lot of recommendations there. There's a little bit more detail in this book. Now they wanted to kind of throw everything at you of what could be done. There's some that are very easy and there's some that takes a lot of planning. So I just suggest going through this book. They also thought it through with potential partners like local artists, businesses, cultural organizations like the MCPI or Mi'kmaq Heritage and community groups, Culture Summerside, trying to get environmental education. There's different grants for green spaces as well that they considered in their recommendations. They also gave a list of potential funding sources. So this isn't only city-led. Is there things that they can be partnered with the Government of Canada, ACOA, Tree Canada, Community Foundations of Canada, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, Canadian Heritage. There's different grants that were identified that can partner with some of these suggestions. So in conclusion, this project is how can we make the downtown core more enjoyable for people to go, spend the day, and have things to do and a beautiful environment to be in. So we're gonna go over to the small business activation. Just to take a step back, I am recapping what was done between 3 projects. There was an update to this group as well that I added a slide on and I'll send through the documentation after. So the small business activation team was led by Jessica Casely, who is the executive director at the Summerside Chamber. There was representation from DSI by Rose Dennis. We had Neil from the city and 2 public appointments for this group. The group was to identify why should someone choose Summerside to pop up, or downtown Summerside to open a business, and for the businesses that are there, why are they choosing Summerside and what do they need to succeed? So this group was very direct in what came out. They surveyed the business community, and the business community said that the challenges were low foot traffic and a lack of parking, high rent and difficult finding qualified staff, lack of support for downtown businesses and shared services, and a struggle with digital marketing challenges and the lack of expertise therein. So overall, the summary says marketing support and collaborative promotions. That was their main driving point that they wanted to see. So they came up with an incentives and support program. So rent subsidies 50% in year 1, 25% in year 2, business grants up to $20,000 for expansion or innovation, and tax abatement incentive or support programs for small and medium-sized businesses. They also were looking for marketing and promotion. So they were focused on creating an app around driving traffic to Summerside. So the app would entail events going on in our community, businesses, sales, different pop-ups, all in one area that can really help people interact with downtown Summerside. Then with that app as well, you could have customized, custom experience packages. So you go to these 3 places and you could get the discount, or packaged deals. So they wanted a modern connected visitor experience through a user-friendly app. Now, my amendment to this as well is I met with the new GSDC executive director, Mitch Martin, and I just wanted to bring this to the table as well. The Chamber Perks app is an app that the chambers across PEI are now promoting. So it's actually a funded position through the Charlottetown Chamber, but it's supposed to be an island-wide funding for those using the Chamber app. The Chamber app is connecting businesses to the business community, as well as there's opportunities to redirect to events page at the city or different areas. So the reason I'm putting this is the Jessica was leading this group. I wanted to have a conversation with Mitch, the new executive director, and he wanted to make sure that it's brought to the table that the Chamber Perks app can do about 85% of what was suggested already, and it's already implemented. So if you see in this screen here, these are the Chamber Perks app is community-driven, customization, community impact, drives engagement in foot traffic, empowers small business marketing, and strengthens the regional collaboration. So I wanted to add that in, even though that's a little bit different from what the group had originally proposed. Okay, I'm almost done, I promise. So the last committee here was the special projects team. So the team lead was JP from the city and Corey Thomas as well from the city. We had Port Corp, DSI representation, and 2 public appointments. The original key tasks was trying to identify Class A office space development, residential and commercial space activation, market or gathering space creation, and special waterfront projects. Now, the group itself, special projects, is a long-term planning. It's not something that you're going to be able to implement tomorrow without a lot of consideration. So the group met and we had these suggestions for council, and all of it had to do with how can we position ourselves to attract business to come downtown. So number 1 was a suggestion of tax abatement for new businesses with a rollout schedule that you'll see in the document, a rent subsidy program, which will be in partnership with property owners. It will subsidize rent for new tenants to make downtown spaces more affordable, as that was one of the complaints that was, or the commentary that was collected. Business development grants. So grants or low interest loans offered to new or existing businesses that enhance the downtown ecosystem. Recruitment of anchor tenants. Anchor tenants drive traffic to the area that you want. So how can we focus on those anchor tenants to drive more traffic downtown? So anchor tenants that we identified were things like grocery stores, bookstores, entertainment venues. How can we partner or offer tax breaks and shared investments for property improvements? Long-term vacancy policy or fee reduction for leasing. So one of the identified pain points would be vacant areas. We have some vacancies downtown. How can we fill those? How can we incentivize people to start their business downtown, and how can we stop the ongoing vacancy that's there? A downtown customization program. So this is to provide assistance with professional services. So not everything can be a blanket coverage. You're going to have individual needs from specific businesses that want to go downtown or that are already there that might help with larger development projects, which could be assistance with legal, architectural, engineering. We have a lot of historical buildings downtown. People have to look into, okay, what would I have to do even to move into this building? That there's professional services that even have the consideration to some of our heritage buildings. So this downtown customization program would be something that they could apply for, and there would be a process to approve, but they might be able to look into something that they wouldn't be able to without it. A pay for participation option. So right now we have the BIA boundaries, and we're looking, or someone is looking somewhere into expanding to include more businesses. But those that are outside the BIA right now, is there an opportunity for them to pay for participation, to be included in that? Because right now it's just set boundaries, but what if other people, because we've had that conversation, other people wanting to participate in it and getting in the benefits of the BIA? And then additional recommendations. So one is we have amazing things that are going on every day from the city. So what campaigns are effectively communicating what's going on right now and what's going to be going on in the future? So the recommendation from the group is active campaigns to effectively communicate, collective communication channels. How do you know what's going on downtown? You have to go to individual sources. How can we streamline the communications to make it easier when people are already doing so much? work closely with Innovation PEI, and the Provincial Business Navigator and Municipal Economic Department to ensure that identified opportunities, so the previous suggestions, make sure that we're circulating it with our partners that are also constantly talking to businesses. We want them to say, oh, I know of this great program in Summerside that's going on, even if they're talking to someone that's considering Surrey or another area. We want to make sure that what we're offering here is being communicated. And then we also want to make sure that whatever we're putting out there has measured accountability. We want this to work. So we want to make sure that these suggestions that we brought to the table have the right parameters to be able to make sure that it's effective. The thing is, you can try something, but unless it's measured, you're never going to know what the uptake is. So the suggestion is just being mindful of the measurements that are being put in place. So then there's also a roadmap just at the end that has all of these suggestions in 0 to 6 months, 6 to 12 month, and 12 to 24 month consideration. Now, a lot of it is planning, and a lot of it is start thinking about suggestions, because a lot of them are bigger ticket items. But it's just a project delivery roadmap that could be what it looks like if, everybody was given the green light for everything. This is what it could look like. However, I know that there's a lot of material here to sit with. So I just wanted to leave you with some moving forward together steps that was suggested from this group.
Thank you, Callie. That was, you're right, that's a lot of information to take in, and there's a lot more information in the package that you handed out. Just ending, I guess, just for everyone's knowledge, the implementation committee consists of myself, Councillor Norma McColeman, Councillor Rick Morrison, and Councillor Justin Doiron, who have all agreed to be on this committee a while ago. So now that the report is in front of us, we will take these recommendations, go back, sit, and discuss, and move forward.
Thank you to Deputy Mayor Snow and Kaylee. That was a great presentation. This is a lot of really good work and lots to digest and absorb, and look forward to seeing the committee's work and then council's work as we continue to transform our downtown here in Summerside. Great call to action.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Councillor McColeman, yeah, go ahead.
Just one of the things that I was really pleased that you picked up on, with some of the buildings being refurbished, redeveloped downtown, where you had mentioned about the living walls. I'm glad that that made its way in, because I think that would really be good in some of the areas. Living green walls. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. So if it's all right with council, I did speak with Councillor MacDougall here. We have a special council meeting. It is supposed to be scheduled here for 6 for members of the public who are here in the gallery. We were a little slower with the start of our meeting here because we had a pretty heartwarming and thoughtful presentation with outgoing Chief Sinclair Walker. So if it's all right with council, I know we don't love to bounce around. We're going to go start a special council meeting, and then we'll come back to our committee of the whole. But is that all right with all of council? Okay, so what we'll do procedurally is we will just finish up the last 2 points on item 6, which is electric utility governance review, which I jumped ahead and said we didn't have something to talk about, but Councillor Morrison does. And then we'll do I, and then we will take a recess on our committee of the whole, and we will call to order our special council. Councillor Morrison?
Thank you, Your Worship. Not really a lot to report. We did finally have our initial meeting, and everything's very preliminary, but in looking for a best path forward for electric utility governance. And so the meeting went well, and I believe at the conclusion we're going to ask legal to give us a hand to make sure everything's above board, or what we're doing is going to be going down the right path. So, and JP could probably speak to that. I guess he left. No, but we're fine. Anyway, so that we got a start on it anyway.
Thank you, Councillor, and I think that's Councillor MacDougall and Morrison are involved with that. And then the AI Smart City Initiatives, Councillor Cameron.
We're having our first meeting next week.
Great, awesome. Fabulous. Okay, with that, we'll put a recess on our committee of the whole meeting, and we'll move right into our special council meeting. I know, Councillor Morrison, now you're going to have to step out and you can't go home early, but so I will begin by calling to order our special council meeting of May 6, 2025, here at 6:06 p.m. I'll call for a motion and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented. Raise your hand. Councillor Cameron, second. Councillor MacDougall, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, changes, revisions? Hearing none, we'll proceed with the special council meeting agenda as presented. Opportunity for any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item on the agenda, noting that Councillor Morrison did at the beginning of the evening. Seeing none, we will move into item 4535, Mackenzie Drive zoning bylaw amendments. I think I will hand this over to you, Councillor Doiron, as Chair Planning Board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you once again, Your Worship. As you had indicated, 535 Mackenzie Drive, an application for a zoning bylaw amendment. The background: an application was received from Nicole Morrison for a zoning bylaw amendment that affect PIDs number 785-386, number 445973, number 652388, number 65326, and number 65508, cumulatively known as 535 Mackenzie Drive or Ocean View Resort. The purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment is to amend the existing comprehensive development area district to create an overlay that designates two separate development areas, Resort District 1 and Resort District 2, and defines the permitted uses for each area. In addition to what the applicant is requesting, is a general zoning bylaw amendment that will give council the discretion to designate staff as the permit issuing authority within any comprehensive development area. The application was advertised in the April 24th edition of The Guardian, and letters were mailed to property owners within 60 meters or 200 feet of the subject properties. The explanation of the process. In order to process a zoning bylaw amendment, the following steps are required. Step 1, the zoning bylaw amendment is read a first time and declared as read at the council meeting. Step 2, the zoning bylaw amendment is referred to planning board for review and recommendation, and those two steps take place at the same meeting of council, and that is taking place right now. Step 3, the planning board reviews the applications and prepares a recommendation to council. Step 3 takes place at the planning board meeting, which will be on May 20th. Step 4, the zoning bylaw amendment is read a second time and declared as read at a second council meeting. And step 5, the zoning bylaw amendment is read to be adopted by council. The resolution will either be carried or defeated by vote of council. If the zoning bylaw amendment is adopted by council, it's sent to the Minister of Housing, Land and Communities for signature, and the amendment becomes official. And steps 4 and 5 take place at council's second meeting, which is on June 3rd. Please note that in accordance with section 5.10 of the city zoning bylaw, any person who is dissatisfied by a decision of council in respect of the administration of this bylaw may appeal council's decision within 21 days to the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission, IRAC. So the current zone and development standards, the comprehensive development area, CDA zone. The purpose of this zone is to facilitate innovative developments for realizing the best use or mix of compatible uses of particular sites. The CDA zone, developments in the CDA zone may include the following as appropriate to the development site and surrounding area. A, mixes of residential, commercial, institutional, parkland, special or conservation uses. B, mixes of housing types and densities. And C, innovative development concepts such as cluster, zero lot line, flag lot, and integrated residential or recreational layouts. Review and approval of developments in the CDA zone shall be as follows. A, developments of the connector districts shall be subject to approval by the development officer, and B, developments in other CDA areas shall be subject to council's approval. Development standards. Development standards may be tailored in each CDA area to meet the needs of innovative development concepts and particular site conditions. Some flexibility respecting alternative servicing methods may be permitted, provided their performance meets or exceeds that which would be achieved by engineering standards normally applied under the Summerside Subdivision Bylaw and Site Development Bylaw, SS 19. Minimum CDA zoning requirements. A development application for a CDA area may be approved, provided A, that the requirements of the CDA connector districts or approved comprehensive development plan can be met, and B, the proposed development of the site is consistent with official plan policies. Application procedures. With the exception of the connector districts, the procedures for an application for a CDA development or for a change in designation and zoning to CDA shall be as follows. And there are 5. So A, a CDA official plan and zoning amendment shall only be considered on the basis of a comprehensive development plan for the entire site, which shall be considered approved upon approval of the designation and zoning in accordance with the procedures set out in section 5.10 of this bylaw. B, for areas already zoned for CDA, for which a comprehensive development plan has not been approved, the development of a CDA area may only proceed through an application for approval of a comprehensive development plan for the entire site, in accordance with the procedures set out in section 5.10 of this bylaw. C, notwithstanding A and B above, where development will be phased over a period of time, council may initially approve a general concept plan for the entire site, and then may approve a more detailed comprehensive development plan for each separate phase of development, which shall each be required to follow the procedures set out in section 5.10 of this bylaw. D, all development within a CDA site shall comply with the approved comprehensive development plan for the site, as well as with any applicable requirements of this bylaw and of other city and provincial regulations. And E, the development officer may approve technical revisions to a council-approved comprehensive development plan respecting minor changes to the siting of buildings or lot lines which do not impact on the plan's overall integrity. All other proposed plan revisions shall be referred to council for their approval or denial. Shall be in a form acceptable to the development officer and shall include the following information. A, boundaries of the site. B, proposed land use. E, proposed types, densities, and numbers of buildings. F, proposed development standards. G, proposed servicing concepts. And in the case of a residential subdivision within a CDA, park levies shall normally apply as under the Summerside Subdivision and Site Development Bylaw SS 19. Proposed amendments are below in red. Please note the standards in section 21.1 and section 21.8 will still apply. 21.3, review and approval of developments in the CDA zone shall be as follows. A, developments of the connector districts shall be subject to approval by the development officer. And B, developments in other CDA areas shall be subject to council's approval. And then the proposed amendments are, I guess, as follows. Unless council has delegated the authority to the development officer. The resort district, 535 Mackenzie Drive. All permitted use developments within the resort district shall be subject to approval by the development officer, while discretionary uses shall be referred to council for a decision. Application for all developments in the resort district shall be reviewed in accordance with the guidelines and standards in section 5 of this bylaw and Summerside Official Plan 2018. Building Bylaw CS 31, and Subdivision and Site Development Bylaw SS 19. The area shall be divided into 2 resort districts identified on map 21-2 as Resort District Number 1 and Resort District Number 2. Definitions. Golf course means an area of land designed for playing golf, imagine that, with a series of holes, each including tee, fairway, and putting green, and one or more natural or artificial hazards. The golf course may have accessory uses and developments that include but are not limited to a main golf club building, ancillary buildings and structures, infrastructure and related services, and equipment and signage used to assist with the operation and maintenance of the golf course. Land use by districts. Subject to bylaw requirements, the following uses shall be permitted. In Resort District Number 1, residential, accessory buildings, apartment buildings, row houses or townhouses. Permitted uses in Resort District Number 2, residential, accessory building, duplex dwelling, apartment building, row house, duplex dwelling, single detached dwelling, and under other for District Number 2, accessory building, recreation facility, tourism establishment, convention facilities, restaurant, golf course, tavern, bar, lounge. Development standards. The following development standards shall apply in the Resort District, 535 Mackenzie Drive, for single detached dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, duplex dwellings, townhouse, and row house. The standards of the medium-density residential R3 standards shall apply. A, for apartment buildings, the standards of the high-density residential R4 standards shall apply. B, for convention facilities, golf course, recreation facilities, restaurant, and tavern, bar, lounge, the standards shall be determined on an individual basis by the development officer. Tourism establishments shall adhere to section 9.4, tourism establishments. Swimming pools, spas, and hot tubs, A, shall be permitted as an accessory use in Resort District Number 2, and B, shall adhere to section 8.19, swimming pool, spas, and hot tubs. Notwithstanding section 8.9, more than one main building is permitted on a lot. That was a lot, but very well done, and something we haven't really seen before. Resort, new zoning, essentially. Yeah, interesting. So now we arrive at the time where we would ask for comments and questions, and we would first invite the applicant up to make any comments or presentations if Nicole would like to do so. Maybe paint a picture for us.
I think you have in front of you the ocean, yeah, so that just gives you an overview and to let you know that Graham Cook was hired to do the design for the golf course, and he is now an exclusive designer for Mr. Liu now. He's not going to do any other. He's just doing his across Canada. He's bought quite a few. So he's working for him exclusively now. So, but he has told me several times this is his main priority, Graham and Corey. They both said it's their priority to get this open in the spring of 2027. So basically, we wanted to split it into two because the condo is something that we want to start ASAP if we could. The other development agreement is going to take some time to get the clubhouse and driving range and the resort renovations and the golf course and all that into start position with the city of Summerside. So we wanted to make it that we could apply for the condos quicker, and as soon as we can get that done, we will be shovels in the ground and starting to build. Hopefully July, no later than August. If it's later than that, it won't happen till next year, unfortunately. So if there's any questions, basically, it's a good project. It's a lot of building permits. I sent around a list of what we're going to be applying for in the next 2 years. A lot of building permits for the city of Summerside from one man, which is impressive. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
I just have one. After anybody that might be listening or watching, after all that reading that was just done, obviously there's a housing component, but I think a question that a lot of people are probably have right now is, so the golf course is coming back to Summerside.
Yes.
That's what we're hearing right now, so that's...
A 27-hole golf course.
Yeah.
Yeah. With 2 full holes on the 18 and 2 halves in Summerside, and almost 9 of the 9 par, 3 par is in Summerside. A little bit's in Linkletter.
Fantastic.
So $9 million of golf courses in Summerside. The rest is in Linkletter.
So, Nicole, the first part that you want to, is it on 1 or 2?
2.
To the bigger part?
Oh, no. Oh, is it 1?
Where's that?
It's the small part. The 10 acres.
Number 1, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the first thing that you want to get.
2 condos on the top end of that off of Mackenzie Drive. That's what we would like to start.
2 condos, okay.
Yeah, one at a time, like one, and then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I see on the other map, and I know that I represent the people on Putters there, and I see there's units behind them. So, but that's all in Linkletter. That have to be.
That's all in Linkletter, and it's not going to happen in the next 20 years. Like, I can't say he's gonna, it's not gonna happen in my lifetime, in my career, I can tell you that.
All right, that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
I've got a couple of
Go
quick
on.
questions. Sorry, Councillor. A couple of quick questions. So apologies if you said this, is this a connector district? I'm just wondering, what's the application? So is this, because I came in today and this was on the desk, is this part of the application?
Yes, that's to help explain, but it's currently a CDA zone. The other CDA zone we did recently with the reference in there is that we made changes to the bylaw when we included a separate CDA for the connector through the east-west housing corridor. So in
Yeah,
the
no, I
section
appreciate that.
of the
I'm just
bylaw-
asking if this is if this is the application, or like, again, we don't usually come in and get given, usually the information is in here, so I'm
Yeah.
just wondering if like if what's required, if everything that's in the package that was provided to us
It's in
is
the
what we're
package
supposed
that
to
we
look at
have
or not?
with smaller versions of the 8.5 by 11 with smaller versions we had that
Okay.
was in your
Okay.
package.
Okay.
Larger ones were just printed off for people.
Okay.
We had a
Great.
scan one that would fit on the.
Perfect, thank you. A couple other quick questions. It's currently a CDA?
Yes.
Yeah, and when was that CDA?
It was, I think, the last review. I believe it was the last review of the zoning bylaw, 2018.
It was whenever we annexed it into the city of Summerside. It was given the CDA at that time.
Okay.
It was in link letter whenever he bought it.
Okay. And then what developments happened in that CDA? It's a development.
What
hap-
has happened, you say?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, it's hard for me with the maps being, I'm just trying to get where.
Since then, I guess the point
Yeah.
number 11 on the map there that is in the center, there was expansions to the existing, I'll say this, I call it the spa facility or the
Resort.
resort part. And also the circular part out by where it says number 3, that was built on in the last number of years. And then, so there was an extra wing added plus a renovation of all the existing part. Happened since it came in that zone since 2018 over a number of years. They also put in services down the main, that little circle that's there is proposed to be a proposed roundabout that's where you'd say if you drove at the end of Mackenzie Drive now, that's at the very end of that. They put servicing from there. The city's water and sewer goes along Mackenzie Drive, so where they're proposing buildings number 1 and 2, that's on existing Mackenzie Drive. The services are on Mackenzie Drive now. They also expanded water and sewer down through their development a number of years ago, large enough. They have a lift station down close to number 14 that was going to be large enough to handle all their development. And the force main brings it up to Mackenzie Drive. So everything, they did those services as well over the number of years. So the main infrastructure, underground infrastructure.
And then you said Nicole, thank you for coming too. You said the expected opening date is spring of 2027, is that right?
Yes.
And does that include the resort?
Yes, the resort is going to, it may open before the golf course, but it definitely will be open at the exact same time, at the very worst, yeah.
And how long's the resort been there, unopened?
Prior to me, it was 97 was the previous owners, and then I can't say when.
He bought it in 2005.
Okay. And this maybe is a question that you don't have to answer now. I don't know if it's a question to answer later, but if there are any ways that we can include any requirements or penalties if it doesn't get built, because I do wonder if we have a comprehensive development plan come forward and then the idea is that it gets developed, so if it doesn't get built on a set time, are there any, I don't know if the city has any ability to put in place any.
We don't have any that I'm aware of. They had the ability, as was mentioned, that they could phase it and say this is the overall, but prior to doing a phasing, show the overall master plan that still could be adapted, which is why they're showing the entire places, even though there's areas that may not happen until a large number of years. So what they're doing is they're showing the overall master plan and then focusing in on number 1 and 2, as well as components of the golf course, saying, that's still our overall master plan, but we're gonna phase it and do this part first. We don't have penalties that I'm aware of.
Okay, and then the only other question I have, and then I'm looking forward to this coming to planning board and having a discussion about it, but one other question I had there, Nicole, is you mentioned that the owner, who you're representing here, has bought quite a few golf courses. Do you know which ones the owner
It's
has?
on his website. I gave you a copy of his website on a piece of paper I gave to JP, and with the building permit, yeah. There's several. There's one in BC, one in Saskatchewan, 5 in Ontario, 2 in Quebec, 2 in New Brunswick,
Great,
and this
okay.
one in PEI. This
Great.
one is the one that he wants to be the big wow for everybody. So Graham said, like in his whole career, he had a budget for every golf course he ever designed, and this is the only one in Summerside that he doesn't have a budget for. Mr. Lou has given him a budget for every other one that he's doing for him, but this one is not. And every hole is going to be unique and well remembered for each hole. Like he's excited because he can do what he wants, and he's never been able to do it before.
Yeah, just one more question, Nicole. It's not, it's pertains to the resort or the spa, whatever we want to call it. Will they be working on that soon?
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of work done on it, but there's still a lot to do.
So the only thing done for the main part of the resort left to do is the entrance, and then another coat of paint, the flooring, and the furnitures. Everything else is complete to that stage. The roundabout, or the rotunda they call it, is being totally redesigned right now, and the architects are arriving Monday to look at that and kind of finalize that. Once they have that and we get it into the city for approval, they're going to start that ASAP. So the goal is to try to get people in there from August, September, right through till it's finished. You know, no later than October. It just depends on how long it takes to get everything approved, right?
Okay, thank you. I just had one other question or comment, and it has to do with the CDA zoning. It seems that there's a lot of pressure put on the development officer for approvals, and does that leave council out of seeing what's coming up, or what am I missing there?
I guess you're seeing what you're seeing now as far as here's what the overall look is going to be, like we've done with the,
Right.
and then let's just say the residential part, when we look at number 1, it refers to, you guys already have outlined the standards in R1 to 4, and they're saying, okay, if they're going to build whatever type of housing, use the existing standards that are in 1 to 4 that you have set out. If a property next to you was zoned R4, they'd be walking in and building it to those standards. That's what's going to happen on this residential side. So there's really, I'm not going to say any pressure on the development officers, basically saying, here's the development that comes in. It'd be no different if they're building it on a R4 property somewhere else. If they choose to build that type of style, that's the standard they follow. And that's what we'll be doing on the collector road as well.
Yeah, so myself as a councillor in the area, when would I know what designs are going to be there, or what?
I say it'd be exact same as if a property of land on Putters was R4. When the development permit comes in, or the building permits come in, and then whenever a permit gets issued, it gets posted that it's issued, and people ask or inquire about what's happening. It gets posted on our website when the permits get issued, and people can ask questions. As long as they're doing it within the parameters that you guys have predetermined in those individual zones.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not me. Yeah, okay, I understand. It's just nice, because I walk down there all the time, and I'm always being stopped and asked what's going on, and it's nice to know what is going on and what could be built there, or what is going to be built there. So, thank you.
Bruce, back to your question about Putters and what's going on along there. Linkletter will not allow anything bigger than a 4-unit built in their community. And those are 12 units that he has there. So unless it's annexed into the city of Summerside and city services, it's not ever going to happen. It'll be green space there for a long time, because the golf course did move over. There's no more golf course on the left side of the fairway when you're going down. It's all to the right.
Sorry, I just have one more quick question there. On the map here, it's got the resort expansion, and then there's certain numbers. So just so, again, getting my bearings, number 14 is RV parking. Is that where all those stones are now and those giant piles of rocks?
All the stones are going to be gone whenever the foundations are put in. It's going to be the ground base for the condo building, so that stone will be gone. All of the containers and all of the equipment's being moved in the next few months. That's all going to be gone too. But yeah, I don't know if there'll ever be RV parking down there, but he just wanted to be able to put it there if he had the request.
Right, okay.
But just so you know, the driving range, the clubhouse, it's a 200-foot long clubhouse, and it is going to have an indoor-outdoor driving range like Top Golf when you go to play golf anywhere else. It's not going to be that franchise, but it'll be the same concept. Although we're in winter months here, so it'll be open 9 months of the year, not 12, but there'll be indoor golf simulators and things like that in that clubhouse too. And indoor pickleball, they're going to put in the recreation facility when that gets built behind the spa, things like that.
Okay. Public course, obviously. Public course.
All open to the public, affordable and open to the public, yes.
Okay, fantastic. If there's nothing else from council, we would invite anyone, if there's anyone here from the public that has any questions or comments, feel free to step forward, and if not, we will, oh, we have one, all right. If you don't mind just stating your name and civic address for the record, and
Sure.
carry on.
Sure. It's Cindy Cameron, and I live at 104 Putter Street in Summerside. So I have 4 questions for council. I'll go through each of them. I will say the documents that you appear to be looking at now that are showing on the screen, I don't think they were available to the public. They're certainly not part of the materials that I downloaded in advance, so I apologize if some of my questions are silly questions, but I didn't have the information that appears available tonight. So my first question is a little one, and it's just why is the city's parcel of land included in this rezoning? So I would note parcel 65508 is the city's parcel that includes the parking lot for the walking trail, and there's also part of the walking trail that goes through there. And so I'm just looking for some reassurance, I guess, that we're not building housing over that and we're not taking up that parking lot. I'll probably just run through all of my questions and then leave you to answer. In terms of the development officer, I'm wondering, why council would consider that, downloading all of the decision-making to a development officer. I think that you did that with respect to the corridor. And in the corridor, there's a lot of space there that hasn't been developed before, and it probably makes sense to allow development there in a way that doesn't slow down. But here, you've got development all around the area that we're talking about, and you've got an area that's significant to the community, right up against the area that's proposed for high-density housing are the trees that surround our walking trail, and those trees were recently clear-cut, so now you can see through those trees into the area that is proposed for development. And so, as I understand it, if you download all of this to all of the future approvals to a development officer, you're losing the opportunity yourselves as council members to have input and some control over this development as it moves forward. But I would also say, as a member of the public, I'm concerned about the lack of transparency, because again, what I was able to review prior to coming to this meeting, to be able to speak to this tonight, was just what was read before Ms. Morrison's presentation. I wasn't aware that this is condo buildings. I didn't know if it was an apartment building or timeshares or what it might be. I didn't know it was 2 condo buildings. I didn't know anything about the, when the golf course is to open. And so I find it really frustrating as a member of the public that this might be our only opportunity to have a say, and all we were given is just a really generic, we want to put, a business zone here and a high-density residential zone there. I would note as well that there was a very thoughtful approach, I thought, in the corridor with respect to the areas where the corridor abuts against existing residential housing. So for instance, in the corridor area, you folks allowed a restriction on the height of high-density housing. So instead of allowing 6 stories as of right, which is what could be right beside our beautiful walking trail, if you zone it to R4, in the corridor district, there was a restriction so that it's only 4 stories, I think, if it abuts up against existing residential development. There were also provisions for parking. There were provisions for screening of garbage cans, setbacks. So again, as I understand the R4 zoning, the side yard of a 6-story building could be just, I think it's 13 meters away from where the city's lot line is for that walking trail. I mean, that's really significant. And I would hate to see, decisions like that being made just by a development officer without the opportunity for council to give some input. I also would ask council to give careful consideration to approving all of the requested changes to the CDA now. So it's very clear in both the bylaw and the official plan that you can do a phased approach for development under a CDA. And I would ask, why is council approving the housing portion now when we've had since 2005, work has been done by this particular developer on the resort and the golf course, and we don't have either of those projects finished. And so why would we now allow the housing to be worked on? If we give approval for it, there's no way to ensure that it's done in a timely fashion. I would ask council to consider perhaps rezone, I forget which district it is, but it's the one with the resort and the golf course on it, rezone that one, and then allow the developer to come back and work on the housing piece so that we can be sure as a community things are coming online in a timely fashion. But specifically with respect to putters, putters is dear to my heart, and I write to people in this room from time to time about sidewalks or safe pedestrian transportation on Putter Street. So when Putter Street was developed, the assurance given to council and members of the public was that there would be a paved shoulder sufficient for pedestrian traffic. There is not a paved shoulder on Putter Street, at least not anything that a lay person would recognize to be a paved shoulder. Putter Street is a very narrow street. It's like a subdivision style street. It's bound on both sides by a concrete drainage curb. When I'm walking on Putter Street, cars generally veer around to the other side of the road to give me enough space. And if 2 cars are meeting at the spot where I'm walking on Putter Street, one of them will generally stop and treat me like a parked car, and then they wait for the other to go around. I am certainly not the only person who walks on Putter Street, and I passed 2 cyclists today, which is still pretty early in the season, but there are cyclists, there are lots of people walking. And the other thing about Putter Street is it's not just a local street, it's a through street. So right now, I have concerns about the safety of Putter Street. But if you allow both the resort and the high-density housing to be approved and to move forward, the amount of traffic on Putter Street is going to increase greatly. If you think about where this is located, the people in the high-density housing and the resort, they're only going to be able to go out onto Mackenzie Drive. As far as I'm aware, I don't think there's a plan to be able to exit up on Bayview Avenue or whatever that street is called. So they would have to come out on Mackenzie Drive. If they're going uptown, they're almost certainly going to take Putter Street as opposed to going straight down Mackenzie Drive. So they'll be traveling on Putter Street across Bayview and then connecting with South Drive. So we already have people using Putter Street as a through street to access the parking lot for the walking trail. So I would ask council, if you're going to approve this, what are you going to do to improve pedestrian and cyclist safety on Putter Street? And those are my 4 questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Very well thought out, and I think some reasonable and some valid concerns that we should all consider. I should have said before that this being the first sort of step in the process, that typically if anyone does come forward with questions, it's not necessarily, we won't necessarily have the answers right now at our fingertips. Like that's typically when the report comes back at the next planning board meeting. If there's questions that can't be answered tonight, they'll be compiled and hopefully presented as answers in the report on that, at that May 20th meeting. So if there are any answers that we can answer tonight, certainly I would invite staff to, I know Aaron and Linda have been jotting down notes here, so if there's anything that you wanted to respond to immediately, otherwise I'm sure we'll have some information in the report on May 20th.
Yeah, I'll just comment on a couple, and as you mentioned, we'll dig the information out, included in the planning board report. Regarding the city's parcel, the parcel that the parking lot is on, and I don't know, we might be able to find one, Linda, that, yeah, the one that's gray, I guess we can move around the cursor there, where the walking track comes up and makes a reverse hill or U, that parcel is not what's being considered for rezoning as part of this here. If you all the way up from Fairway Lane, from Bayview Drive down, there was a 50-foot right-of-way from the highway all the way right to the shore, and the piece that's from Mackenzie Drive down to the bottom is in the city's name, and it already was zoned CDA, so it's still in the city's name and will just be rezoned as part of this, and it may or may not be part of a development. That's for a future. It already was zoned CDA, so the part that's the existing parking lot is not what's being considered here, for clarity. And as far as the information, the intent, I know some of you may be aware and mostly aware that all the information is to be presented here. This is intended to be a public meeting for the applicant, council, staff, and citizens to be all in one room in a civilized manner, exchange, and here's what the development is about. If they went from door to door to door, they may get asked a different question by you, and the other person didn't hear what that answer was, or it's meant to be one meeting tonight, this first one, to, number one, go through the necessary steps as far as changing any rules, but also that we all share the information and hear it all at once. We all hear the same questions, we all hear the same answers, and if I tried telling the same story 8 times, I may not tell it all exactly the same, or someone may spark a question that the other person. So that's the intent of now, is for them to provide information, say generally here's the topic, and all the detail is brought forward at this meeting here tonight. So we can provide more follow-up on other information from the questions that were listed and include that in the report.
Nicole, did you want to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to add one more thing, is he's only building on his land, period. There's nothing to do with the city of Summerside's property. But the boardwalk that goes along down past his property is on his property. He had given the permission to allow you to build the boardwalk on his property. And it ends down there, he's willing to give you the rest of the land to extend it to the end of his property, which is another 300, 400 meters of boardwalk that you can build and have more for them. And he's no problem doing that. He's already stated it.
Great. I may have missed the importance of this. I think I'm just a little confused as to why we're looking at dividing it into 2 different sections.
I guess we're just kind of highlighting to say the CDA allowed a wide range of possibilities, and then now when they're close to coming up with a scope, now they said, okay, here's our plan and our overall plan. At least we divided up a section to say, here's a section that's just planned to be residential only. So that's the 10-acre site. The rest of it is all, we'll say, golf course, resort-related activities. So we just said, let's divide it up in 2 so we know at least there's what you're going to have residential and there. So that's why it went into zone 1 and 2. The same kind of theory happened with the collector. I think we made 3 nodes in the collector. We said, okay, here's residential. And if there's a possibility of being some commercial, let's do commercial in the mix. So you knew predominantly that's the only thing going to happen, and divide it in 2 separate areas. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think, and the other thing we just want to mention is the development standards then in District 1 would be different than the 1. So for the building, we would follow like R4 standards.
Okay.
Because it's a residential component, whereas we wouldn't want to apply those to the golf course or vice versa. Just
Right. But it's still zoned as a CDA, but
Absolutely,
that does
yeah.
not change at all.
That's correct.
Okay. And then just my last thing, just to Cindy, was that? Yeah, that I know that tonight is your night to speak, but at any point you can come back and request to speak to council. So if there is information that comes out, and that goes for anyone in the public, that tonight isn't always just the end all and be all. If information comes out at the next meeting and you feel the time is to ask a question, then you can always request to council to speak then as well.
And then Councillor McColeman, just on the first part of Cindy's question, just with regards to, kind of seeing some things for the first time, it is typical that at these first meetings of whether it's a rezoning or what have you, that we sort of receive, concept plans or whatever from the developer just the night of the meeting, which is good. The more information, the better, but we would certainly and will certainly, anything that comes in, we will table and make it public, immediately, whether it's right after the meeting or tomorrow or, so anything that comes in that isn't part of that package that typically goes out on a Friday, we'll make it available as soon as it comes in, so, yeah.
I have just one more thing, and where the roundabout's going to be put in, the road is going all the way out to Linkletter Road, so that is another access. It doesn't have to go up Putters. It's going all the way out to, on Fairway up to Linkletter Road, just so you know that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are residents that maybe weren't aware of tonight's meeting.
Do our best to answer them or that, or for the, how we've typically done things in the past when people.
I may just say this, I'm saying it as one council, it's like tonight, those concerned if some residents weren't here tonight.
Yeah, and to that, I agree. However, not everybody, it doesn't.
I just want to, on the answer, so just to confirm, it's not in the public pack, not in there, is it?
It's the applicant's presentation that they're going to present.
So it forms part of the application only at the meeting. Itself, again, to Ms. Cameron's point, is that for members of the public, they need to have the information before them. Sometimes developers, we're supposed to consider this. This is the first instance of seeing the particulars of a CDA for which we're supposed to look at, understand the particulars of, right? This isn't like a regular rezoning. These are different.
It's similar to a rezoning, and then an ad went in the paper similar to another rezoning. It would have we wouldn't have shown a 4-unit or a 10-unit building. It would have just shown, here's a parcel of land, here's the rezoning that's going to happen, and here's the general location and some verbiage, and it would be a typical ad. So an ad was done for this, I think, within the 24th or something. We can provide you a copy of the ad with the, and then when the person comes forward, they'll either bring a presentation or speak, and we ask for electronic copies so we can put it up on your screens and have a copy of it, or?
I think it's fair to say, Mayor Dan, that In some cases, some developers will give us the information in advance and ask it to be included in the package. In some cases, we present it at the meeting when the developer presents it.
And sometimes developers go out to the public as well to engage with them before even arriving at council. Thank you, Linda. I guess I just have one more question. It could be for maybe for the applicant, is why if you consider just rezoning sections here. So if we're talking about area 1, there's a housing component to it, why you wouldn't just apply to rezone that section? Why do a whole nother CDA? You could have just applied for, could you not have applied for to just rezone that?
No, they wanted to have the whole plan, exactly what was going to happen, as far as we knew in the main master plan. And I just asked if we could separate it because we want to start that as soon as we can, as opposed to waiting for the development agreement and the permits for the rest of it. Because we really would like to get started in July, and that's our goal, but it'll depend on...
We generally turn development applications, and we're pretty quick at technical services. I don't think they're dragging their feet on any project, but okay, that's helpful to know.
I guess the part of that is if we brought forward a rezoning, we're saying this was already part of a CDA, and our rules say if you're going to do part of a CDA, show us the overall master plan, even if you're going to focus on one phase. So we'd have brought you in saying, we're going to rezone this to R4. We're saying, well, is that not part of the overall CDA? Why can't we see the overall master plan, what's happening? So it's one way or the other that we're...
Anyone else, whether it's council or public? And if not, we'll move on. I'll just remind everyone that the next meeting will be the planning board meeting on May 20th, where we'll sort of evaluate and present the report based on information gathered this evening. And oh, yeah.
Sorry, I just had one more question. If this wasn't split into two and the master plan was given, everything was approved, what is being suggested being built now could still be built, correct? Does that make sense?
Sorry, will you just repeat that, Councillor?
Yeah, so if there wasn't this division of phase 1 and phase 2, if we just looked at it as one big plot of land in the CDA, and all permits, because that's the reason why we're looking at 2, right, is a little bit to expedite things. But technically, if they still applied for what they're suggesting in phase 1 as a whole, they could still build what they want. Is that correct?
Yeah, they could, I think, but in order to do it, they still need this approval of their overall master plan. It was zoned
Yes.
CDA, yeah.
Yeah, so, but what, yeah, so we're kind of saying the same thing. I think if they waited to get all the permits and stuff for the whole master plan, they could still do what they're proposing right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that. The only reason to separate it is to expedite phase 1.
It's not necessarily phase 1 and phase 2. There's different development standards for number 1 versus number 2.
Okay.
So we have different, no different than we have our 1 standards and our 4 standards. So in this case, when we have an overall plan like this, they're dividing it. They're saying, okay, this is basically a residential component in R1. And there is standards here within your document proposed as to what standards they have to follow to do any development within that piece 1. Then there's a different set of standards for piece 2.
Maybe this, I'm not gonna say simplified, but it had been, we're now gonna do some residential part, the other part's gonna be commercial. We'd be divided where it's all still fitting in the CDA and, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Perfect. Thank you.
The terminology may have been, like the term phase 1, phase 2 refers to timing, whereas this is resort area, resort district 1, and it's not, doesn't have anything to do with timing, it's just sections. So with all that, I guess we can move into the resolutions. Resolution COS 25-058. Whereas an application was received from Nicole Morrison for a zoning amendment for PIDs number 785386, 445973, 652388, 65326, and 65508 from Comprehensive Development Area CDA Zone to Comprehensive Development Area CDA Resort District Zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. And whereas allowing council the discretion to designate staff as the issuing authority for development permits within the comprehensive development areas, CDAs, when council feels it is appropriate, will expedite and simplify the application process for all CDA applicants and allow council to apply discretion to this ability. Be it resolved that zoning bylaw amendment 0131, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, be hereby declared as read a first time. Zoning Amendment 0131, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. The Council of the City of Summerside, under authority vested in it by Section 18 and Section 19 of the Planning Act, hereby enacts as follows. Zoning bylaw CS 40 is amended by A, amending Section 21.3, subsection B, by adding, unless council has delegated the authority to the development officer after council's approval. And B, adding the following new sections and headings after section 21.22. And I will just check briefly with our CAO. These are all of the sections that were read previously. Do we have to read these again into the resolution? No, okay. It just goes over the resort district, 21, 23, 21, 24, all of the things that we read above and the permitted uses and whatnot. So those are already in the minutes. Moved by myself, and I would ask for a seconder. Councillor Adams. This is council. It's a special council meeting, so any one of council. Councillor Adams. All members of council. Oh, I'll turn it over to the mayor. Sorry,
Yeah, great.
This is
No
a council resolution.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. I was waiting. I was gonna see how far you went.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Start over. Let's go way
No,
back.
that's great. Resolution COS 25-058, moved by Councillor Ron, seconded by Councillor Adams on the floor. Any further comments, questions from members of council? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Please, for all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is carried. Councillor Duran.
All right, I got one more. I'll make it right. Resolution COS 25-059, whereas an application was received from Nicole Morrison for a zoning amendment for PIDs number 785386, 445973, 652388, 65326, and 65508 from Comprehensive Development Area CDA Zone to Comprehensive Development Area CDA Resort District Zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. And whereas allowing council the discretion to designate staff as the issuing authority for development permits within the Comprehensive Development Areas, CDAs, when council feels it is appropriate, will expedite and simplify the application process for all CDA applicants and allow council to apply discretion to this ability. And whereas zoning bylaw amendment 0131, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, was read a first time at this council meeting, be it resolved that zoning bylaw amendment 0131, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, be hereby referred back to the planning board for review and recommendation. Moved by myself, and I would ask for a seconder from council. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Resolution COS 25-059, moved by Councillor Duran, seconded by Councillor Cameron, is on the floor. Any further comments, questions, statements, members of council? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? One opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ayes. So the ayes have it. Resolution is carried, and we'll move on to planning board. Councillor Adams, I think, let's make sure and that is items 4A and 4B. Thank you, Councillor Duran. And we do have one extra resolution. I think Councillor Adams was going to ask for a friendly amendment to the agenda.
Add resolution COS 25-060, and it is the appointment of Chief Jason Blackier. But I'm not sure where you want to put it on what remains.
But we'll do it now if council is comfortable with that being a friendly amendment to the agenda as we're in course. Yeah.
Okay, so moved by myself, seconded by, Rick? Did you want Rick back? Can Rick come back?
Rick can now come back.
Rick can come back now. Okay, I just remembered because he seconded this. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Rick Morrison, whereas Sinclair Walker has retired as police chief from the city of Summerside, and whereas the city of Summerside has conducted a competition for the position and Deputy Chief Jason Blackier was the successful candidate. Be it resolved that Jason Blackier be named Chief of Police for the city of Summerside.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Resolution COS 25-060, moved by Councillor Adams, seconded by Councillor Morrison. Welcome back. Is on the floor. Any further comments, questions, statements from members of council? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None. The resolution is carried. Thank you, council. Then we will adjourn our special council meeting to May 6, 2025. We'll take a brief recess and then we'll finish on with our All right, we might as well resume if that's good for folks. What's that? It's the Leafs aren't playing tonight. Canadians? The Canadians, they're playing still? Or no, they're done. Second round, baby. Second round. I'm back on the bandwagon. No, I've been off for. Yeah, no, that's fun. I think the Leaf fans. All right, we'll resume our committee of the whole meeting here. Moving on to item 7, which is staff reports and recommendations. The first is 7A, Silver Fox Curling and Yacht Club RFP confirmation of in-camera discussion. Discussions where we make decisions in camera have to come through to council, so I'll hand it over to CAO DeRosier.
There we go. Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, so essentially, at the last in-camera, staff presented the results of the scoring RFP process for the Silver Fox Curling Yacht Club food and beverage service delivery, and council gave staff direction to award the successful proponent and negotiate a lease. I'm happy to say that staff proceeded to do that, and as of yesterday signed the lease, and we made an announcement this morning. So this is just an opportunity to put that in the public record and provide an opportunity for council to ask any questions, if there are any.
Thank you, CAO DeRosier. Any further questions? No, great scoring makers, great presentation, and the high scoring applicant was the successful applicant, and thank you to staff for working through that process and informing the other applicants. We'd certainly thank all of them who are interested in investing in the city of Summerside. Next item is 7B, Kelly Drive follow-up. There's a document attached. I'll hand it over to Councillor Adams first. Councillor.
So what we're going to do tonight, so this came up before regarding Kelly Drive. There's Kelly Drive Scotia, there's Kelly Drive Summerside. And we asked for this to be looked at because there was an emergency. EMS was called to Kelly Drive Summerside. They went to Kelly Drive Muscush. We're asking the lady why she wasn't letting them in, and she said, "You're not here," and they ended up, they were in Musquesh. So our firefighters, I believe, did a lot of assistance on that call until EMS got there. I don't know all the details, but I'll let you guys take it from here.
Well, didn't know a whole lot about this call because it was just a regular MFR call on our part, dispatched through Summerside Dispatch. We got there, we had 14 people there. EMS was on scene when we arrived. It was basically a load and go, and we didn't know anything about the mix-up until CAO sent an email around asking if we could just check into it and see just what happened. I sent an email through to Matt Spadell, who's the head of Mediviv, just with some questions describing the event that happened, and just asked the question if you could get some more specific information regarding the directions, civic number that were given out to the responding units. And just wanted to clarify that the location shows up on their screens when a 911 call comes in, and has any other similar incidents within other communities in our province as it happened before. And I'm just kind of taking over here. Kimberly Cudmore responded. She had a chance to review the call at 105 Kelly Drive. It was properly created from dispatch with the correct address given and the community provided and confirmed with the caller. It's policy for us to confirm the communities for the very reason of duplicate street names occurring within communities. Community information is provided to the medics when assigned a call, and it was an oversight by the medics when they responded to the street address in Musquesh when they were told the call was in Summerside. She just goes on to say it's not a common occurrence, but human error does surface on occasion. And I do not feel that it warrants a request from council. I kind of explained that there was a possibility of some street names maybe being changed. She didn't think that it warrants a request for council to change street name, but that's up to your discretion. And that was basically the follow-up to the questions.
I can just add a little bit to that. I talked to our dispatchers, and our dispatchers dispatch for police and fire here in the city. The issue of duplicate or similar sounding street names hasn't been an issue for them. And I can say in my time policing, it really hasn't been an issue for the members either. But I can relate to the paramedics that were on duty that night. Human error is going to happen sometimes, and I know I've been dispatched to a call on a given street and headed to a completely different street. Just you mishear something on the radio, or again, human error is always going to play a part sometimes, unfortunately. But Chief Inman and I put our heads together and looking at the information. Our present systems seem to be working, and there's protocols in place with our police and fire dispatchers as well to confirm the location of any emergency or call for service.
Chief Ron, did you say that, so once the fire department is dispatched, they have a screen there somewhere and it shows on the screen where they're going to, the location?
No, I was talking about dispatch, like my understanding when a call comes into 911 in Charlottetown, they have the 4 or 5 screens kind of pans around, and they see the location.
They
so
see it.
I just didn't know how the miscommunication happened, but it was just, like Jason said, it was just human error.
Yeah.
There's another layer, an added layer too. When our dispatchers receive a 911 call from the call center, the 911 operator gives us, our dispatcher, the location of the call. The caller is then put through to our dispatcher, and our dispatcher reconfirms that information with the caller. So it has to go through 2 layers of kind of oversight. So we don't really view it as a problem here for us.
And it, like, just so your letter, Chief, it just said, only as that, like you said, they confirmed the paramedics were dispatched to the correct location. It was the paramedics who attended the wrong address, and appears to be a case of human error unrelated to having duplicate names. But if we didn't have a duplicate name, wouldn't it be harder for there to be human error, I guess, is my, and I know, like, there's Fitzroy Street, Summerside, Charlottetown. Well, usually, a difference 40-minute drive. I guess the 5-minute part is the issue for me, that they're so close together. Did anybody else want to say anything before we? Nick?
Yeah, I would just kind of more so agree with you. Not that there's anything wrong with. We don't currently have an issue, which is great.
Yeah.
But if we didn't have a duplicate name, then you're eliminating more chances of human error. And I just think that if you can eliminate the chance of human error, then why wouldn't you? When it's just, it's a street name. It's not.
Yeah.
And maybe I just don't understand how the depth of that when you change a street name. But to me, looking at it right now, it would make sense to potentially eliminate the possibility of human error down the road, so that someone doesn't look at it and go, I'm going to Muskoka, or I'm going to Summerside, and they're supposed to be in the opposite location. And that's just my 2 cents.
And I guess this is a question probably geared more towards the firefighters who respond in their own vehicles for the most part, if they're not on a truck. But there was a case where, I think it was last summer, where there was a call for service for the fire department. And it was 600 Water Street is how it came through to us. And some people responded to Water Street East, where the call was, and some people, I don't know if it was a Google Maps thing or whatever, but there's that as well. I don't know if that's relevant here or not, but just it seemed to be the sort of the topic to bring it up on And I think the couple people that responded to the wrong, it was out by like Hippenstall's Corner where it should have been out by Reed's Corner. Like it was quite a distance.
I think that one was kind of the way that the enunciate, when it was assigned an address, the address wasn't right. That was the apartment there, the flood, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was Nathan's place. And I don't know what happened when they assigned the address. There was some kind of a mix-up, and that's how.
It's kind of strange how and I don't know how it works, but did the numbers not go sequential? Like, is there even a 600 on the west end? I don't think there is, because so I don't know how they were kind of mapped to that area, but anyway, it's an issue that happened once and hopefully won't happen again.
And I guess just like I said, like I just thought if we don't give more of a reason to make a mistake, then anyway. But does anybody else want to?
I think the other thing we consider too, not only do you have many duplicate street names in different communities across the island, you have a lot of very similar sounding street names. And so people that are calling an emergency service under stress, you could very easily mistake one for the other.
Yep.
So, I mean, if I guess kind of how we arrived there, our thought process and our decision was, if you change, where do you stop changing street names? But again, that's certainly your.
And we're so unique here too, because police services is out around the community, and they're having communication with their dispatchers, so that when fire gets on the radio, you know, we can get a pretty detailed description of where we got to go, and you know, and the guys, like Justin said, that are responding and hearing those communications over their pagers, they're getting those updates too. So having the personal part of having our dispatchers in the city is real beneficial to us too.
For sure. So I did ask if I could get a list of everyone, of the homeowners on Kelly Drive, Summerside, and I was going to reach out to them, just because I didn't want them to think that this was just not being dealt with. So, JP, was that?
We're working on, it's assigned to tech services for
for
that list to be provided.
I mean, I can go door to door and visit them, but a few I can like reach out like quickly and just explain the whole thing. And the reason it's Kelly Drive is for a certain reason. It's after Mayor Francis's granddaughter or daughter. I'm sorry, I can't remember which it was. Dorothy Kelly. So it does have some significance, the name. So like, would you go Dorothy Kelly Drive? Would you go Dorothy Drive? Like, you know what I mean? It's people would have to sort of have, you know, some input too, right? But you'd want to keep the historical reason why it is the way it is. So.
The one in Muskoka is Kelly Drive. Can we name this one street? Kelly Street? Anyway, I know that it's human, yeah, I know, but human error, but it creates a lot of issues when you change a name. We went through that with 911. We changed a number of them, and it's a big deal. But I guess if I was you, Carrie, I'd talk to the residents there and get some thoughts.
Yep.
Yeah.
So tech services were gonna get me everybody's, just so I don't miss any property owners. Like there might be somebody living there that's not the actual property owner. So I just want to make sure I have the correct people.
No, go ahead. No, you're up.
I was just thinking that it might help if they know, if the residents know that council had some kind of back and forth with fire and police. And from their perspective, you know, just kind of help us reach that arrangement or idea or whatever. That might just alleviate some of the fear.
Oh, sorry, JP, go ahead.
Is council done? I didn't mean to jump in there. I just wanted to make one quick comment. The call that was responded to on Kelly Drive, the incorrect one was a medical call. And I just want to point out to council and use this as an opportunity to just discuss the fact that like our emergency services crew are responding to a significant number of medical calls. This wouldn't have been an issue if that wasn't an issue. So I just want to bring that again to council's to the forefront just for further consideration. And also in terms of street naming, I think if there's desire from council to move forward with a street name change, that we would take it back to tech services and go through that street naming, renaming process and what's available and what's not.
Okay, so taking forward, Councillor Adams, you're going to speak to some residents, and then we can continue to have this conversation. Thank you, chiefs, for coming in and all the work that you do. We had a great first day so far. Great, we move on. Thank you. Move on to the next item here, which is the no parking on west side of McEwen Road. There are documents attached. I see at the end of the package there is a recommendation from now Chief Black here, so I'll hand over the floor to you, Chief.
Sure. CAO had asked that I take a look at the parking situation on the west side of McEwen Road and try and sort out whether or not it might make sense to eliminate parking on the west side of that road. I looked at it from a very narrow perspective in terms of the safe flow of vehicle traffic, and it wasn't until I guess I got the meeting package for tonight's meeting that there was also some considerations given for active transportation and bicycle safety and things along those lines. So I guess there's a little bit of a miscommunication between myself and CAO. I looked at it strictly from a motor vehicle flow perspective, and to that end I did consult with tech services and Aaron, and the feedback from Aaron was that McEwen Road was built wide enough to safely accommodate vehicle parking on either side, particularly around the Three Oaks area, and currently in the area of the Athena athletic fields there is already no parking on the east side of McEwen Road. There's only parking on the west side currently, and so speaking strictly in terms of motor vehicle traffic, we didn't see a real safety concern to that end.
Just a quick question, with the additional information in the package, is it worth us just coming back? Do you want to look at it more, or is it?
I think it probably would warrant that. I guess we didn't look at it from an AT perspective because currently that street is not deemed an active AT route. And right now, some council may know or may not, but we've established a practice that once a there's a active transportation route adopted on a specific street in the city, it automatically becomes a no parking area. But because McEwen is not currently a listed AT route, that no parking piece doesn't directly follow through. So we can certainly take it back and review the information that was in the package and bring it back for the next committee meeting. But I think that's up to council for their decision.
That makes sense to come back? Yeah.
So we're going to look at in front of Three Oaks and in front of Athena, correct?
Well, they're
That-
gonna look at how the
Yeah.
active transportation plays a part on that street as a whole, and then bring back, or not.
It officially, it currently doesn't. Now, I'm not,
Yeah.
I realize people bike and walk and run on the shoulders of that street often. So but it's currently not specifically listed as an active transportation route. We have no signage, we have no line painting, et cetera, in that area to indicate that. It is part of our future plans to make McEwen Road, because it's a collector and it's, as Chief indicated, it's wide enough for an AT lane, but currently it's not specifically identified as an AT route in the city.
Because like if we're looking at one, I'd really like to look at both of them, especially like, I just think it makes sense. That's why I didn't want you to go and do the work and then us say, well, what about the other one, and not have told you to just, to get it too.
So just for clarity then, is council looking at us to review whether or not in its current standard, whether or not McEwen Road should be a AT route and what would need to be done in order to officially make it an AT route? Because that's going to require budgetary considerations.
I personally think look at that option, what that looks like as it pertains to this request coming forward. And if that's too far long-term, then we deal with it the way it is. But if it's something that's manageable and we can get it done in the way it is, then we proceed. But I think there's more information, it sounds like, that needs to come back in regards to both.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's no secret that a next ideal phase for our AT planning in the city would be to connect the AT route on Pope Road with the east-west connector, which would then lead you to McEwen. So then, obviously, the next phase from there is McEwen. But again, that's a budgetary consideration. AT is not free, so we just have to consider that. So you can send us back to look at it, but essentially, that's where our AT planning is at the moment.
Yes, ultimately, I think the question is do we hold off on the no parking discussion until after we get through the AT route planning discussion, or it's up to you guys? That make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
I know for
Oh,
myself.
Councillor Trenholm, sorry, yeah, you're there.
Right. Yeah, I know when you're looking at because this issue was brought to me from a resident, and that I know that the seasons will be starting soon, so both of those fields will be used. Maybe the end of this month or the 1st of June for sure. And I guess there's a few pages in the document, but if you're looking at page 15, just to look at where Tosh and Athena are included there, the idea that not only would be a risk, say, to cyclists and that kind of thing, or e-scooters, with the risk of dooring, but the entire traffic, as it was saying that they're going over the lines, the yellow lines to come in contact with somebody else. So, yeah. So, and I guess the other aspect of the shoulder is that when the vehicles are parked on the shoulder, especially for, say, 15 in a row, it basically makes that the longer the distance is a significant risk, and so you're creating a shared road. So both in the PEI AT plan, as well as in our own official plan, like we're talking about that we want to create the zone and the feeling where it's bicycle friendly or for all levels and skill levels. So even regardless of not being an AT, it's a shoulder, and the province has continued to fund widening shoulders and viewing the shoulders as the appropriate mechanism to support AT. So not, I know I'm jumping around a little here, people, but the Transportation Association of Canada is also saying, I mean, the shoulder should be only listed as a spot for refuge, so for broken down vehicles, not so much as putting them all in a row, which creates an impact. And having driven and trying to make sure that cars don't open the door when you're cycling, and then trying to maneuver the cars behind you, it's definitely a safety issue as well, and it's for inexperienced cyclists and the like. So I think bringing it back, it would be nice to have the no parking discussion finalized, I guess, because I think the AT would take a long time to figure out, but I'm open to what council are thinking.
So how do you want to, council want to proceed? You want to just decide whether or not I guess start trying to figure out what your options are here. One is to come back and look at this McEwen Road in the context of a potential future AT designation, and if it's something that should be added to the AT network map in time, which will then precipitate the need to consider no parking along McEwen Road from the top to the bottom. And then I guess the other two options are just to make it no parking, and then the third is to just leave it as is and move on.
If I can just.
Yeah, Councillor.
Just without.
I think that's the only, sorry,
Yeah,
Councillor,
no,
those are the three options there. I don't, it's up to you.
Without sort of leaning on any option, I think it's, to Councillor Trenholm's points, I think we've all driven that stretch while there was activity on at Three Oaks, and it's, can't really dispute that it is quite something, especially when there's kids opening doors. So I don't think we should dismiss it. I don't know if we have to get into designated AT zones or not, but it's clear to me that there is an issue. Like, we've all, again, we've been there, and it's sort of a unique area where it's right beside sports fields, and people should be parking in the parking lots, but they don't. So how do we motivate them to?
So, just a crazy wild thought, while we're looking into the AT part, with rugby, soccer, so on coming up, can we make those two areas no parking until we figure out a solution? Because there is tons of parking in the area, like an overabundance of parking in both areas, in safe parking lots, with paths to the fields. So what if we just be on the safe side, let's just make it no park. Didn't we do that with Parkside? Didn't we say, let's do green, just, let's try temporarily and see if it works with the school kids and so on? So why can't we do this?
So that suggestion, I think, is coming to just making McEwen Road no parking for the time being, erring on the side of caution, and then continuing to do the AT work. Is that correct? Yeah. And I travel that road all the time, every single day. I almost never see anyone park there, but when I do, especially I see it at the top, closer to Walker. The picture that Councillor Trenholm has in here is what you see in terms of the width maybe is wide enough for a vehicle, but where I see the cars parking, they're not. So, and to your point, Councillor Adams, there's lots of parking. It's very rare unless it's that one event. I do think at the field, at the rugby field there actually is a no parking sign, but it's up really high and it has some months. Like, that's the first time I've seen it in 15 years. It looks like it might be well older than 15 years, but so there may be a sign there already. It does not look like an official city sign, just is. Any other councillors? Did anyone else just want to go ahead and make McEwen Road no parking and move from there, or keep looking at it? Just trying to get this taken along. Sure. Yep. You want to just have a vote on whether or not to make McEwen Road no parking? Great.
All of from Water Street to the school zones? Hospital, or just school zones would take care of. When there's pain going on, when it's at its worst.
Okay, maybe we could, again, so we're not here all night, maybe staff can go back and look at what the potential no parking zones would be on McEwen Road, and they can bring it forward to council, and we can have a vote, and they can give us an option of leave it as is, no parking on all of McEwen Road, or no parking in these sections. Does that work? Great, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. We'll move on to 8. The first one's just a housekeeping piece, sort of committee of the whole discussion items. We had a discussion here at council as the issues affecting the residents of Evergreen Village came to the forefront a number of months ago. I've been back to Evergreen. There have not been any resolutions in the area. At the time, our city planner, Thane, had done some work on mobile homes, policies, looking at things like tenant displacement policies and tenant assistance policies, so we can have a better grasp as a whole, as a city, on how we address situations like that, and also how what the expectations are for those mobile home parks in the community. Since that time, we've had another one that has done some new work on water and sewer and upgraded services. So there was a bunch of work done, and I just didn't want to leave it sitting on the table. So I'm just asking council if we can take that package, send it to planning committee. When planning committee has done its complete streets, it can take a dig into the mobile home piece and the policies, and bring something back to council so that we close that loop. Is that okay with folks? Yeah. Okay, so we can add that, move that package through to planning committee under the stewardship of Chair Doiron. Councillor Trenholm, the next 1, 2, 3, 4 are yours. I think the first, just maybe we can move it along quickly. The first is in the package. You're looking for a second letter, and perhaps from Mayor, on behalf of council, asking the province to improve Frank Millis Drive. Is that correct?
That is true, yes, correct.
Anyone on council have any issue with that? Okay, I don't mind, we can draft the letter, or Councillor Trenholm, if you want to draft it, send it to me, I'll put my name on it, I'll sign it on behalf of Mayor and council, and we can continue to make that request.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, and then I'll hand the others over to you. Councillor Trenholm, you can start with 8C.
I don't know, you did such a good job summarizing that one. That's pretty good. Yeah, so community park benches. So I'm just looking to see, we had a pilot over the winter. There was 4 benches that were left out all winter. So I'm just curious if it's possible to have some type of staff review on the outcome of those benches, and moving forward. I would just like to point out, I mean, it's on page 24. It's just a lovely picture, and I asked these ladies, I said, do you mind if I take your picture and, with council, and I'll share, not taking face on, and it was a lovely conversation that they had, being able to rest, and then they had a conversation with the neighbors across the way. So just one of the many benefits of having those community park benches out all year round. So I guess in terms of looking at what next steps, I mean, there's 4 benches left out in the summer. I mean, sorry, in the winter. It was Granville and Lafergie, Linden and Granville, Summer Street and Pope Road. So I guess just looking for staff's input there. Like, well, I guess one, was there any issues that resulted from the pilot? And would there be any recommendations to leaving out all the community benches outside and have them accessible all year round?
Yeah, so I spoke with Director Gregg briefly on this topic in advance of the meeting. He's going to tabulate what he potentially believes is the incremental expense of keeping the area shoveled, salted, and clean for access. So I don't have the number tonight, but generally speaking, it was able to be built into the snow clearing operations in what he deems is a fairly light snow year. May not be exactly the typical year when we come back with the incremental budget amounts. But when we do that, we'll bring it back to council for consideration in advance of the snow season and see where council wants to go, if that's okay with council.
That sounds reasonable, thanks.
Great, thank you, JP. We look forward to that, and that can come as an update there in the future. Next, Councillor Trenholm, Commerce Crescent, Pope Road, RFP crosswalk. Just before we start that too, I know we've had some discussions about crosswalk, so perhaps as well, maybe CEO DeRosier, if at upcoming, maybe next month's COW meeting, as our technical services staff works through all of the work that they're doing right now and starts to look at where the next number of crosswalks are potentially to be located in the city, if that can maybe come together. So we have, sorry, Councillor Trenholm, but if we sort of have a broader discussion of here are where future crosswalks we're looking, as opposed to doing them one-off, because if we do this one-off here, we'll do a one-off the next and one-off the next. So CEO DeRosier's got his light on. I'll ask him to speak, and then we'll come back to you, Ken, if that's all right.
Just really briefly, we would welcome that, because today during the State of the City address, it was announced there were 6 crosswalks, and Aaron texted and said, where are the 6? So there's a miscommunication from the budget outcomes to at the staff level. So I'm just being transparent with council that we're going to have to tighten that process up. But the next committee of the whole will provide council with an update on the ones we're aware of, and we'll try and dig out the ones that we're not and get some work done. Just realize, though, that tech services is buried in tender season, so we may not have a whole pile of work completed on them yet, but at least we'll have them identified.
I didn't make up the 6 number either. It came from somewhere. So if the typo was mine or someone else's, then we'll find out. But anyway, we said it today, so I guess that's where we're at. Councillor Trenholm, do you want to follow up on this one, or are you okay to have the conversation in the broader context?
Well, just briefly, I guess, because we've had a great partner, Cameron Apartments, bring this forward. So you have your package there. You look on page 27, just to give you the idea, and there's I have it marked there at the roughly the 26 meters marked from the intersection, that they have in between the apartment buildings. They're going to remove that this year, because that unfortunately, people are crossing the street there. And the idea is to make it safer, putting the RFP at the Commerce Crescent, so to have it there. So this would certainly be of benefit. I've taken children there, and I've also seen individuals, and the last person I saw was a veteran in a wheelchair on a rainy day, having to wait for quite a few cars to stop. And if there was an RRFP crosswalk, it just fits with, if you're looking at all of the council's guiding principles into the sidewalks and high density housing around apartment buildings. It certainly is a fit with complete streets and et cetera, but also because it's North Granville commercial area, so being able to support the development in North Granville, which specifically says to provide convenient pedestrian access to commercial area from surrounding housing areas. So yeah, so I guess I think this would be an excellent location, but I do totally supportive of the city and having a list of crosswalks and to add our RFP, because I think we can have many RFP crosswalks around the city that would really help. So.
Yeah, no, my only question, I guess, maybe for staff, and I believe it's indicated in our crosswalk policy, is just what the maximum distance might be between crosswalks. He looks like he's ready to answer that question.
I'm going to acknowledge that I didn't memorize the crosswalk policy. I believe it's 150 feet, but I don't want to be quoted on that at the moment. I did send around the crosswalk policy as it relates to line painting, but a lot of the standards are included in there. And I thought it was important for me to send that around to council, with crosswalks being a hot topic at the moment, so that you're aware of next year when requests are going in for crosswalks in certain areas. If they're coming in from residents, it's the ability for you to give them a sense of what the realistic opportunity is for a crosswalk to go in a specific area. But I can get back to council on exactly those, that distance of a crosswalk to an intersection or a crosswalk to another crosswalk, either an email or at our next meeting or at our crosswalk review next month.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's a number that's easily, we could easily find it, but to sort of report it officially might
sure.
be
Yep, for sure.
And I know from my perspective, we can't change the distance from the, I guess, Granville Street to Commerce Crescent, but this is the Commerce Crescent where many people cross the street, so we can't change the distance, make it shorter or make it longer, but we can make it safer. That's the one thing we can do, and I think we need to do it, but that's probably pretty obvious.
So on that page 28, where like this, it says to be removed, the picture, and it says to be
Yeah.
removed this year by Cameron Apartments, 26 meters from the intersection. And then there's a little red circle. What is that?
That's right. Well, that they have in between the apartment buildings, they have sidewalks. So they have sidewalks that connect them. Then they have a sidewalk that leads straight to Pope Road. So that's like you say, it's roughly 26 meters. I've seen people cross, and it's a frightening sight to watch them cross the street there, because there isn't a crosswalk there, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so they're going to do renovations, and so they let me know. They said, well, we're going to remove that, but they would really they have advocated for RFB at the Commerce.
Okay, so when you cross over onto Commerce, like if you're getting people over to the other side of the road, like say Pizza Delight parking lot, is there a sidewalk there? Yeah. There's a sidewalk there.
There's no sidewalk on Commerce, no.
No, but but on the other side, there is a sidewalk there? Okay.
On the other side of the street, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, in terms of, instead of looking at this as a one-off, it's good to look at, Councillor Trenholm, but if we can look at it as part of a group, we can bring the crosswalk policy to council, we can get an update on the line painting, we can get an expectation of what those 6, hopefully that was right, number are to be, and then we can, obviously, if you're all right, Councillor Trenholm, we can include this as part of that discussion. Is that all right with council? Because I think, great, good? Councillor Trenholm, good?
Sounds good.
Okay, great, awesome. Last one also to you, Councillor Trenholm, Craig Avenue Traffic Chicane Pilot Program Review.
Yes, yes. So this goes back when I was going door to door. There's the chicane pilot. I know right now they're not out there right now on Craig. At least they weren't the last time I checked on Craig Avenue. But there was just a lot of concern from the residents who live on the street and some who live in the trailer park that go through. Just really concerned of basically the primary issue that I'm being told is the speeding on Craig. And if we go through previous speed studies, that would show that it's true. But the residents are they would much more prefer 2 speed humps and to remove the chicanes, as they're just looking at the chicanes are more of a safety, I guess, issue for them. I know personally I've seen 2 vehicles make a decision that only one vehicle go across, another one's waiting for that vehicle to get past the chicane, and so it's in some way it's creating a stop sign, I guess, that what I observed. But again, that was just one moment in time, I guess. But the bottom line, I know that the majority of residents, actually every resident that I talked to that was home, that's something that they drew my attention to with lots of enthusiastic energy, and hopefully that something could change. So.
Two things on that, because we dealt with this previously. The first one is we did have speed bumps, humps, lumps, whatever those ones were called. And they stole them. Somebody stole them. So that's when we went to the chicane one, because they couldn't take them out. And the other one was we did already do a speed study, a traffic study there, because residents in the area were saying like lunchtime traffic before and after work. And it was actually noted that it was people living in the area that were the most chronic offenders. So that's when we were like, okay, that's when we decided to put in something. But I know that the school traffic and the work traffic gets a bad rap, but it's not always the case. So I personally have never heard anybody say anything about the chicane. I did hear them complain whenever they were ripping up the speed lumps. Yeah, so I don't know. We already have a speed study done in that area just very recently, so maybe we could get Jason to haul that back up, or tech services to haul that back up and see what there was. But I mean, I'm on it every morning. There's kids there waiting for the bus, happily.
Brief discussion with Aaron this morning on this topic. There were speed studies done both pre and post installation of these chicanes, and then again in the winter months. We can bring that back to council to advise kind of the success or not of the chicanes. And there's also, Gary and Tech Services has considered moving the chicane distances from 6 meters, which is essentially 2 parking stalls, to 4.5 meters, which would actually force drivers to stop if they met an oncoming car, to slow traffic down in that area too. And I guess it is a common practice in other municipalities. There's some desire, I think, from Tech Services to further the use of chicanes to prove their validity, both from a data perspective and try a few different options. But I mean, I guess if speed humps is the desire of council, we can look at that as well. But I would like an opportunity to bring back that speed data to council on this particular topic at the next meeting first, before we make any firm decisions. But again, that's council's discretion.
Does seem to make sense to have the speed data, I would say, for sure. But I can speak that it was, yeah, I mean, it was something that people were yelling at me about and running with me and pointing their finger. So I know when I was going door to door, it was a contentious issue for some people, for sure. And they would much rather the speed humps. That's just, I guess, what was shared with me.
Okay, so CEO DeRosa will come back, and Councillor Trenholm, if you want as well to go knock on some of those residents' doors again, to check in with them. I do know we've had other instances where we put speed humps in, and then residents wanted them. Bruce is nodding his head. Put the speed humps in, and then quickly they called to get these darn speed humps out of here. But let's see what the traffic study is, and then provide the feedback. And I think we have 6. Do we have 6 mobile? 4. The 2 got stolen. I'm not even gonna go down that road. Is that okay, Councillor Trenholm, with you for steps?
That sounds good, yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Awesome, okay. Anyone else, Council? Nope. CAO DeRosa, CAO updates. We have 4. That's gonna be pretty quick there, and I think it'll tick right along, and we can get out of here at a reasonable hour.
Good. So thank you. Encampment policy, as it's listed on the agenda. We don't have an official encampment policy at the moment. We have what I would call an encampment procedure that I was asked to provide council with sort of an overview of really very briefly. And I have a feeling as the warmer weather continues onward, this may become more and more of an issue. So it's important for council and for the community to understand how we have been continuously handling the encampments in the city. So when an encampment location is identified on city lands, and I underscored that because we've only been dealing with encampments on city property for the most part. Management from Community Services Parks Division determine whether there's active inhabitants or not. If the encampment is actively being used, in some cases we're required to bring in Summerside Police to notify the persons who are present to vacate, and we're typically out of compassion giving them around 24 to 48 hours to do so. We do ask the inhabitants to clean up after themselves. Rarely has that been the case so far. So once an encampment is vacated, depending on the availability of resources, city staff or private contractors or a combination conduct the cleanup. City staff, from a parks perspective, are very busy this time of year and throughout the entire summer, so pulling them away from our parks and green spaces to conduct encampment cleanups is just not feasible, although we'll do so when we absolutely have to. And I point to that because the next bullet is that we assume all the financial obligations for cleanup. So in 2024, this is between 30 and 40,000 in bringing in labor and equipment and outside contractors to clean up encampments throughout the city. And those are funds that could have been redirected to Parks and Green Spaces offerings throughout the city. Staff are actively seeking out encampments activity. However, we do often rely on either council or public reporting of those encampments. There's a lot of green spaces out there, so the more reporting, the better. We've also begun conducting cleanups of encampments on private lands that border our city parks and green spaces only, and that's simply to avoid the impediment of users to access our parks safely throughout our city spaces. So we've gotten approval from landowners that border our city parks to go and conduct cleanup efforts to ensure the safety and access of our parks for our residents. And we've also begun the process of notifying the provincial government when encampments are located on or near the Confederation trails, public schools, and other provincially owned lands. We've gotten calls from Three Oaks, for example, of encampments nearby their school, and we've asked the province to clean up the encampments in those areas. And to some degree, we've had some success in those areas, and others not so much. So that's a brief summary of the encampment procedure, and I'm certainly available to answer any questions on that topic.
So if we're calling the province to come and clean up and then they're not, obviously work we're doing, you're getting staff, requesting our staff do it?
Not consistently.
Okay.
There was one fairly sizable encampment near, it kind of bordered Heather Moyes Park and Three Oaks High, and a lot of the students walk through that area to access school. So we took it upon ourselves just to say, let's clean this up just out of the sheer safety for the kids accessing Three Oaks.
I'm just wondering if maybe we should start invoicing some of this stuff back if our staff are doing it.
In that particular
And I
case,
know
it
you
was
have-
private lands that bordered both City Park in a public school, so arguably we could have probably cost shared that. But in the heat of the moment, I think staff are just saying, let's get this cleaned up from a safety perspective first. So some of the encampments can be kind of dangerous places, not only to send their staff into, but also for, you know, students to go into. We're finding drug paraphernalia and a lot of needles and propane tanks and things of that nature. That's just not, it's not a great scene.
Councillor Cameron and then Councillor Mattoul.
Perfect, and we've had conversations about this, and when it comes to privately owned land, I know that we aren't necessarily actively doing things if it's, like you said, if it's not bordering city lands. Are we then, if it's reported though, are we then making sure that we are implementing the unsightly properties bylaw that we have? Because there are some around the city that, like we have discussed, it is not specifically, doesn't fall into this encampment procedure, but it does certainly fall within the unsightly properties bylaw that we have. And I'm just wondering if we are pushing that forward when it doesn't fall into the procedure that we're currently working with.
Yes, we're reporting those private encampments to property owners, to bylaw enforcement, and bylaw enforcement is making attempts to connect with property owners with varying degrees of success.
And just, and I don't know if you can answer this right now, but when contact is made with the property owner or not made because you can't find who owns the property, how long does that sit until the city does it and invoices the property owner?
It would be roughly a 90-day process to go through issuing of orders and providing the adequate time for the property owner to deal with the issue themselves. No different than any other unsightly. We do provide what I would call as much resources as we can to the property owners to suggest that, you know, police services will work with them to remove the inhabitants from the property safely. We provided names and contact information for some of the subcontractors we've used to conduct the cleanups, just to try and make it easier for residents who are dealing with this just like we are. But like I said, there's some that have acted swiftly. I don't believe we've issued any specific orders to date. I think most of them have gotten dealt with in advance of that, but I'd have to go back and check the database on that.
All right, I just think it's important for the public to know that when it is not our land or bordering our land and it is privately owned, it is not as, it could be swift, but it could also take much more time than if it was our own land. I think sometimes people think that when the bylaw officer is looking into these things that it's moving quote unquote too slow, but there are procedures that they have to follow and it could take up to 90 days. So I think that is just important information for people to understand as well.
And just on that note, we're seeing hot spots and a lot of moving. Like just because we go in and deal with one specific encampment, these individuals, if they're not choosing to take refuge in a 24-hour shelter, they're simply moving to another area of the city. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to move back to that exact same location 2 days, 2 months, 2 years later. It's very difficult. It's a bit of a game of whack-a-mole. And it's not certainly far from ideal of a situation to be dealing with as a city.
Yeah, thank you. So JP, are we able to collect from anything from the province on this, as it's a homeless thing? Or?
That's a good question. I mean, last year in the heat of the encampment season, I would call it, we were focused on getting the 24-hour shelter open and really driving home that message with the province. And they've done so, and I think it has certainly alleviated some of the issues all winter long. We're sort of in that season now where the weather's changing, and we'll see if there's been a significant improvement as a result of the 24-hour shelter or not. We will continue through finance to track our expenses, and it's certainly a conversation we can have with the province.
Yeah, I think it's a conversation we need to have, and even with private landowners, that if we have to go in and clean up, I think we're going to have to look at some other options there, because 30 or 40,000 that we haven't budgeted is not what what we're supposed to be doing. So I think we need to look at those options if we can. Thanks.
And that's a good point, Councillor. I just wanted to bring up that, it is council's discretion whether or not we continue to spend dollars on these cleanups. And, one thing I wanted from this evening was to get some sort of council agreeance or direction on to continue on with the procedure that we've outlined here, knowing that there's expenditures here that we're going to have to absorb or not.
I personally think we have to continue, but we also have to explore options that it's not completely on us, right? So.
Just a quick question for folks who've been in Charlottetown recently, and I'm trying to remember if this came up at our joint council discussion, but is Charlottetown still facing additional encampments in and around the city? And I asked just a general, Councillor Adams?
Well, whenever we had the joint council meeting, Chief McConnell said that they clean them up daily. He indicated that there's daily cleanup of encampments.
So they'll be dealing with some of those same costs. I do wonder if it's worth the cities of Charlottetown and Summerside asking for a meeting with the ministers of health, housing, and justice to discuss this issue and the costs that we're incurring for these obviously missing housing and social services and support. So I'd be happy to do that. Happy to reach out to Charlottetown's Mayor Brown and put a joint letter together to invite those three ministers to have a discussion on this, because we're not funded for this. This is a cost for us, but it's something that I get the feeling that this council and in Charlottetown as well wants to continue to clean up so that it doesn't continue to be a problem. Is that a workable sort of next step piece? Okay, thanks. And thanks for bringing this up. I know we had discussed this before, so I was glad that I think Councillor Cameron, you had sent some emails around this and this information came up. Really good that we put it out in the public. Thank you, CEO. Next, Sports Tourism Collaboration Agreement. This also follows the discussion at the council's meeting with Charlottetown.
You're not going to come up and join you or join me? Or are you asleep back there? So I guess I'll just open up by saying that back in, I believe 2016, in my former role as event development and whatever I was at that time, myself and my counterpart in the city of Charlottetown, we've contracted MRSB to take us through a strategic look at how we can co-host between our two cities. On the sales road, I would call it, at the sporting events nationally, we'd bump into one another an awful lot and find out that, you know, there's an awful lot of events out there that we could attain if we work together, and likely too big if we don't. So as much as it was a scary thought to partner with Charlottetown and do some collaborative things, we did a number of them and they worked quite well, and pigs didn't fly. So that agreement, I believe, Tanner, expired a few years ago, and I'm going to hand it over to you to discuss kind of what you believe our next steps would be and seek some council support for that.
Yeah, the partnership expired in 2021. Like JP said, it was signed in 2016. Back when they did the first partnership, it outlined 8 key event opportunities. So if we were to likely go into a new agreement, it would come with some key events in the next probably 2 to 3, 5 event cycles. And again, like we spoke on at the joint council meeting, there's a number of benefits to us co-bidding that we discuss. And basically, if council were to kind of move forward with this or approve it, I would work with the counterpart in Charlottetown on developing the partnership and the agreement. Likely seek out a firm to assist us with that, like MRSB did last time. And we would go through the process again, identifying key event opportunities and likely putting in some joint bids with that, like we did for the World Under-17s most recently.
Great. I see a lot of nodding heads. That would allow us to expand the size and perhaps scope of some of our bids.
And attain government money that we potentially have not been able to in the past when we're after singular municipal events.
All right, I think you get the nodding head. Get on it. Go for it. Thank you, Tanner. We have the last two, a 6-month strategic work plan, CAO.
Yeah, so I emailed around to council what I would propose is the CAO's work plan on some key priority items outside of the day-to-day question answering and and dealings with staff and council. Really what the desire was for this particular work plan was to really have the CAO role in practice leaning a bit more in towards being this chief strategy officer versus just the day-to-day traffic director. So some of these items are not the most exciting items, but they're key things that I believe as a CAO need to be accomplished in order for this role to function as more of a strategic approach versus just a day-to-day gatekeeper. So I'll briefly run through each of them as fast as I can, and then if there's an opportunity to ask questions at the end, certainly. So the first one is succession planning and leadership development. Obviously, our staff are our number one asset and the thing that keeps the city moving forward on a day-to-day basis. In the next 5 to 6 years, 25% of our management workforce is going to be retiring, which is a bit of a scary thought from someone who sits in this chair and probably others. So there's a lot of corporate knowledge that's going to be leaving us. So starting now, planning for succession, conducting workforce analysis, we're identifying roles that are retiring, critical components that need to be addressed for future leadership, mapping internal leadership potential and finding out where there may be gaps in that, and really planning for a succession plan that's realistic and that works and that we're all aware of. So that's the succession planning, and I can go through these in more detail through the questions, but that's the first element. Number two is an organizational restructuring and modernization. That might be a scary concept for some existing staff, but when there's an opportunity for a fairly significant portion of your workforce moving onward, a new blood and new people coming through, that is likely the best time to look at an org review. But we need to do so now versus waiting until those key positions are filled. So having an organizational restructuring and modernization plan will be key, not to suggest we're going to enact them ASAP, but understanding when things change, how can we modernize our structures, where are there inefficiencies, where are things misaligned, and just trying to reduce gaps in the organization. And we may go through this process and feel as though the structure currently is perfect and we may not need to change anything, but I think it's important to review that alongside of a succession plan. Technological advancement and innovation. I think it was Councillor Doiron mentioned today that we're becoming yet another AI company, and we're probably not far off. We do need to start endorsing and adopting more innovative uses of technology using AI. I heard Councillor McColeman discuss her use of Monday.com, which is a new dashboard that we're using. So we're already sort of early adopters now, but I think there's a ton of efficiency there that from a staff perspective, I know our police services is looking at AI options right now, and they're very keen on adopting this to try and save staff hours where they could be out on the beat. They're not stuck in their office writing reports, for example. So we'll conduct a digital AI readiness scan. We'll identify high-value use cases for automation innovation. We'll likely try and launch a small-scale AI pilot project that we can utilize in the organization and then showcase to the rest of the departments. And develop a digital innovation vision for the city. The next item on the list is strengthening CAO and council communications and governance alignment. I think we've had individual one-on-one meetings with council right now and CAO to discuss kind of communication practices and what's been working and where things can be perfected. I think that streamlined approach will help council and staff spend time in prioritized areas. We'll have to reach a question limit on a daily basis for Councillor Adams, but other than that, the communication's going well. Even just the piloting new reporting tools, and I don't want to bring up Monday.com again, but that's a dashboard and a visual updates for where we are with projects. That's a really early example of how we can communicate with one another more effectively. So we'd also like to consider as part of this hosting a council and staff governance workshop to align on priorities and roles. I think that's an important maybe annual practice for us to do. While all again, just trying to streamline that communication between council and CAO. And then the last item, which is I saved the sexiest for last, is a comprehensive bylaw and policy review. I think it's important for us to inventory all of our active municipal bylaws and key policies, and then cross-reference them with contradictory policies that don't run together, or bylaws that don't run together, or trip one another up, find some redundancies and alignment gaps. That's going to require significant time and effort and likely external legal, but I think it'll be a really strong and positive exercise to not only serve council's desires from how we govern, but how we service our residents as well. And for staff to know that our bylaws work well with one another and align. So those are sort of the 5 key focus areas. I've got some pretty aggressive timelines in the report I've sent you, and daily now learning sort of the demands on the role. Those timelines might need to be adjusted slightly, but I'll keep council abreast of those. And each priority comes complete with timelines, key actions, and milestones. So I'll do my best to continuously update this report and provide updates on where we are with the work going forward. So I breezed through that really quick, but I'm certainly open to answer questions. I know it's getting late, but I'm here all night, so ask away.
Yeah, doesn't look like any questions. Good stuff. Yeah, this was great.
Awesome.
Again, lots of nodding heads.
Everyone's getting tired, I think. Nodding off, sorry. All right, last one.
No, thank you, JP. That's great. Look forward to seeing that move forward, and maybe provide an update again that I'm sure you have something scheduled in there in terms of your work plan.
Yep.
Great.
Okay, very briefly, EMO update. This will be my annual timeline for presenting council with where we are with EMO. So staff spent the better part of March or April updating our EMO plan. It was a kind of an all hands on deck. Sandra really led it from a admin perspective, but all staff involved in the EMO team provided their input. The report, or the plan, sorry, was officially sent to EMO for review, which we'll do on an annual basis as we update it. And they simply provide back an acceptance and a thank you for updating, which it is good practice to do that on an annual basis as things change. So that portion has been completed. We've updated our EMO team and staff review of the EMO plan. So there's some new faces around the table from an EMO standpoint than there were, 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe a better realignment with skill set and interest, and also coming from a lot of the learnings from Doiron and Fiona, and where there were some holes and where there were some gaps. And then obviously that new team was required to review the EMO plan and provide any feedback, along with, as I mentioned, some of the updates that occurred in March and April. We held our first tabletop exercise in a while, which will be an annual practice. It was led by the EMO. It was an interesting process. Staff were a little nervous going in and came out smiling and felt confident in our abilities and our approach and our plan being strong. It's always challenging to find an entire morning for 30 individuals who work in municipality to take off and allocate to an EMO exercise. However, I think once we got in there and got the juices flowing, I think staff actually appreciated the opportunity to go through it. And there's a bit of an eagerness to move to a step 2, a real mock evacuation, a mock emergency step. So we may do that in August in advance of hurricane season if we can line up. August is difficult with vacations and summer, so that may not work, but we are going to try and do that before the end of 2025. So that's the next stop will be conduct a functional exercise, which is more intensive. And then the EMO plan and 1 or 2 exercises a year will now be part of our annual work plan, along with updating of the plan and submitting it to the EMO offices for sign off. So I breezed through that quick again, but I know everyone's nodding off, so.
Is the 3rd floor boardroom, is that still going to be the place that houses all of the information if there is an emergency to become the comm center?
So the 3rd floor is where the updated EMO plans will live in terms of the paper copies. The beauty of an EMO activation location nowadays is that they're fairly versatile in where they can be housed. Most of us have our EMO plans on our phones, on our laptops. So as long as there's somewhere with power, we can set up and activate. So that's kind of the beauty of modern advancement. But yes, if we activate the EMO and City Hall's available and not underwater or on fire, that's likely where we'll set up.
Great, thank you, CEO DeRosier, and all the staff for putting that time in. You practice, and plan. So when it happens, you go into your automation and you do what needs to get done. So I'm really happy to see the updated plan, the annual planning, the tabletop exercise, which you said we needed to do for a while, and yeah, there's nothing more. We often say there's so many important things here, but in terms of being prepared for emergency management, that is the time when it's really hard to have something that's more important than that. So yeah, really appreciate it, the whole crew. With that, any other comments? Any councillors want to just have a discussion on anything, or you guys want to give? Oh, Bruce, Councillor MacDougall?
Yeah,
I was kind of joking, but
I'm
okay.
not sure if everybody gets the Atlantic. It's all in there. There's a great story in there on Constable Mallory Metallic. So I just wanted to make sure you just knew it. So. Good.
Thanks, Councillor.
Thanks.
That's great. All right, with that, we'll adjourn our meeting. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.